Chapter 356. Everyone else was stunned. The blue-robed youth was definitely not weak. He was young and had already reached the third-rank martial ancestor realm. He was definitely an elite nurtured by the Blue Blade family, and his combat strength was not something an ordinary martial artist of the same rank could compare to. However, he could not even last one move from Xian Yanqing. Many people didn't even see when Xian Yanqing made his move. Only a small portion of the geniuses were able to see how Xian Yanqing attacked. Little bitch, how dare you hit someone from the Blue Blade family? You're courting death. Attack, attack together. Take down this bitch and torture him. Boom, boom, boom. The remaining 3 blue-robed youths roared, and a powerful aura exploded from their bodies. Each of them was a third-rank martial ancestor realm. When the 3 of them joined forces, their power was terrifying. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi's faces changed, and they were about to help. However, Lu Ming smiled at them and told them not to worry. Slap them. At this moment, Xian Yanqing shouted coldly. He waved his hands, and black lotuses appeared. Then, the black petals were like divine blades, and they destroyed the attacks of the 3 youths. Shush! Xian Yanqing moved and appeared in front of the 3 youths. He slapped them. Slap! 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 3 loud slaps were heard, and the 3 blue-robed youths were sent flying. Shush! Shush! Before the 3 youths landed on the ground, Xian Yanqing waved his hand, and the lotus petals flew towards the legs of the 3 blue-robed youths. Stop! A furious roar came from the private room. However, Xian Yanqing did not bother, and the black petals did not stop. Poof! Poof! The black petals landed on the legs of the 3 blue-robed youths. When the 3 blue-robed youths fell to the ground, their legs were covered in blood and wounds. Even their bones were exposed. SSS. Gasps could be heard from all around. What powerful combat strength and ruthless means. Since he said he would break their legs, he immediately broke their legs. Shush! At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air rang out. A blue figure rushed out from the box and appeared in the hall. The young man was about 23 or 24 years old. He wore a sky-blue tight-fitting robe, a blue jade belt around his waist, and a pair of blue gold boots. He was filled with a luxurious air. However, his expression was as gloomy as the winter. Blue Cloud Fei, it's really him. It's over. That woman is finished. Even her companions are dead for sure. They even dared to beat up the people of the Blue Blade family. Blue Cloud Fei will definitely not let this go. Although Blue Cloud Fei didn't enter the Cloud Emperor leaderboard, he is very close to it. I heard that he has already said that he will definitely enter the Cloud Emperor leaderboard this time. Except for the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard, there are only a few who can fight with Blue Cloud Fei. The other people in the restaurant looked at Xian Yanqing, including Lu Ming, as if they were looking at a dead man. I just asked you to stop. Didn't you hear me? Blue Cloud Fei looked coldly at Xian Yanqing. His eyes were filled with amazement. Previously, when he was in the box, he didn't have a good look. Now that he had a closer look, he realized that Xian Yanqing was even more stunning. His lust was instantly aroused. I heard you, but who are you? Do I have to follow your orders just because I heard you? Xian Yanqing looked at Blue Cloud Fei with disdain. Do you know the consequences of not following my orders? If I take action, you will either die or be severely injured. Lan Yunfei sneered and continued, However, I can let you go because you're a woman. How about this? I'll lock up the 3 of them first. As for you, you'll come back with me and serve me. If you serve me well, I'll consider letting you go. What do you think? This condition is already the biggest concession I can make, Blue Cloud Fei said. His eyes flashed with lust as he looked at Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing frowned. On the other hand, Lu Ming, Feng Wuji, and Ling Yanqi were dumbstruck. Is there something wrong with this guy? Didn't he see that there were 4 of them, and only one of him? He even said that he would lock them up first, and let Xian Yanqing go back and serve him. Wasn't he feeling too good about himself? Lu Ming had seen many people who felt good about themselves, but this guy in front of him was definitely the first. Brother Feng, Brother Ling, why am I so unlucky? Everywhere I go, I meet idiots. Even when I am having a meal, I can meet such a weird idiot. I am speechless. Lu Ming picked up a cup of wine and drank it in one gulp. He sighed. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi looked at each other and didn't say anything. They weren't as brave as Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming didn't lower his voice. It spread across the entire floor of the restaurant. There was dead silence at the scene. Everyone was staring at Lu Ming in a daze. Lu Ming dared to say that to Blue Cloud Fei, why were the people of the Burning Sun Empire so arrogant? What the country bumpkin? He doesn't know how high the sky is. Many people thought. Kid, who are you talking about? Blue Cloud Fei screamed in anger. His face was twisted as he looked at Lu Ming eerily. I am talking about whoever answered me. Lu Ming continued to pick up his cup and replied indifferently. He then drank it in one gulp. Courting death, courting death. Now, I take back what I said. You are dead. Nothing can save you. Blue Cloud Fei roared in anger. A powerful aura exploded from his body. A sword radiance shot out and slashed at Lu Ming. I am your opponent. Xian Yanqing's eyes turned cold. He waved his hands, and a black lotus appeared in front of the sword radiance. Clang! The sword radiance hit the black lotus, and sparks flew. The sword radiance was blocked. How dare you stop me? I will kill you too. Blue Cloud Fei was furious. His killing intent surged. His combat sword hummed, and sharp sword chi slashed at Xian Yanqing. Peak martial ancestor, realm 4th realm. Blue Cloud Fei's cultivation had reached the peak martial ancestor, realm 4th realm. No wonder he was only second to the geniuses on the Emperor Yun board. The lower-ranked geniuses on the Emperor Yun board were only at the early stage of martial ancestor realm 5th realm. Do you think you can kill? Xian Yanqing sneered, and a powerful aura exploded from his body. Late martial ancestor, realm 4th realm. During this period of time, Xian Yanqing had made great progress. His rank 7 imperial bloodline was fully utilized. Heavenly Demon's great palm print. Xian Yanqing waved his hands, and palm prints blasted out toward Blue Cloud Fei. Xian Yanqing's martial skill was unknown. When she was in the martial Grandmaster realm, she had used the same martial skill. Now that she was in the martial ancestor realm, she was using the same martial skill. Moreover, as Xian Yanqing's cultivation increased, the power of the martial skill became more terrifying. Boom, boom. In an instant, the palm prints and sword radiance clashed 8 times, and there were 8 explosions. Of course, the 2 of them had intentionally compressed their true chi in their moves and did not spread it out. Otherwise, the entire restaurant would have been blown up. No ordinary person could build such a big restaurant in the imperial capital of the Cloud Region Empire. If the restaurant was destroyed, it would be difficult to explain. After 8 moves, Blue Cloud Fei retreated 8 steps. He was at a disadvantage. Chapter 357. How could an unknown girl from the Burning Sun Empire suppress Blue Cloud Fei? How was this possible? If not for the fact, they would not have believed it. Ah, go to hell. Lan Yunfei was enraged. His eyes emitted cold, killing intent as he roared. Bloodlight flashed, and a sky-blue broadsword appeared. 2 silver chakras revolved around the broadsword. This was Blue Cloud Fei's bloodline, a level 2 king class bloodline. Slash. Blue Cloud Fei's combat strength increased as his bloodline burst out. He slashed at Xian Yanqing. I don't want to play with you anymore. Xian Yanqing Fei's eyes turned cold. She raised her slender hand as if she was pinching a flower. At this moment, another slender hand appeared in the air. This jade-like hand wasn't real. It was at least 10 times larger than Xian Yanqing's hand. It was perfect and flawless, like the most perfect piece of art. Just like Xian Yanqing's hand, it was in the shape of a flower, filled with a devilish charm. Break! Xian Yanqing Fei shouted and flicked her finger. Bam! Blue Cloud Fei's broadsword radiance was shattered instantly. The finger force did not stop and shot at Blue Cloud Fei. Blue Cloud Fei's expression changed. It was too late for him to dodge. He could only block with his broadsword. With a loud bang, Blue Cloud Fei grunted and was pushed back dozens of meters. He crashed into a few tables before regaining his balance. Blood spurted out of his mouth. Sizzle, the sound of people sucking in cold breaths could be heard all around. Xian Yanqing Fei was too powerful. Blue Cloud Fei was no match for her even before she unleashed her bloodline. Since when did the Burning Sun Empire have such a powerful genius other than Qiu Changkong? Get down! Xian Yanqing Fei shouted again and pressed her palm down. That huge hand pressed down on Blue Cloud Fei at the same time. Blue Cloud roared and unleashed his full strength, slashing upwards with his saber. However, with a bang, the saber light was instantly shattered, and the palm continued to press down. Blue Cloud roared. Whoosh! At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the staircase. A figure rushed up like lightning and arrived in front of Blue Cloud, throwing a punch upward. Boom! Waves of air swept out, and the fist force and the palm disappeared. At this time, everyone saw that there was another person in front of Blue Cloud. It's him, Yang Liuji. Blue Cloud Empire's Yang Liuji, ranked 33rd on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. Could he be the one that Blue Cloud Empire invited to this banquet? When they saw who it was, exclamations of surprise could be heard from the surroundings once again. It's actually him. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. Back in the ruins of Imperial Cloud Palace, Lu Ming had fought with Yang Liuji. In the end, Lu Ming defeated Yang Liuji with the help of the Golden Eye Blood Zombie. Xian Yanqing was also stunned as he recognized Yang Liuji. However, Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi's expressions changed drastically. The Burning Sun Empire and the Blood Zhao Empire were close to each other, so they had long heard of Yang Liuji's name. Brother Yang, you're finally here. Seeing Yang Liuji, Blue Cloud was overjoyed. Brother Lan, I'm sorry that I'm late. Yang Liuji said. Then he looked around. When he saw Xian Yanqing and Lu Ming, he was stunned. Then cold, murderous intent shot out from his eyes. Little bastard, it's you? Ha ha, good, good. I've searched high and low for you, only to find you by chance. Since you've met me today, you won't be leaving. Yang Liuji revealed a sinister smile. When he came out from the ruins of Emperor Yun's palace, he had wanted the seniors of the Great Sun Empire to kill Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming had escaped too quickly. He had searched all around the ruins of Emperor Yun's palace, but could not find Lu Ming. During this period, he hated Lu Ming to the core. He did not expect to meet him here. He was so happy that he almost laughed out loud. What's wrong? You're looking for a beating again, aren't you? Lu Ming said indifferently. The surrounding people were stunned. Judging from Lu Ming's tone, Yang Liuji must have been defeated by Lu Ming before. It can't be, right? If that's the case, the Burning Sun Empire is too terrifying. Nonsense, little bastard. Back then, you only relied on an external force, a puppet. Now that your puppet is gone, I'll kill you in 3 moves. Yang Liuji shouted and corrected Lu Ming. The others suddenly realized that Lu Ming had relied on external forces. No wonder. If it wasn't his own strength, it would be useless. They let out a long sigh. If the Burning Sun Empire was so powerful, how could they endure it? Kill me in 3 moves? You alone. Aren't you afraid of laughing your head off? Lu Ming continued to speak indifferently. This nonchalant attitude caused Yang Liuji's anger to soar. You're courting death. Yang Liuji shouted angrily. His body emitted a scorching aura that made the restaurant seem like a furnace. Xia Nianqing moved and stood in front of Yang Liuji. Little Qing, you don't have to do anything to deal with him. Let me play with him. Lu Ming picked up a cup of wine and drank it in 1 gulp. Then he stood up and walked toward Yang Liuji. Hurry up and finish him. We haven't finished our meal. Xia Nianqing glanced at Lu Ming before he sat back down at the table and ordered. His tone was casual, as if Lu Ming could easily deal with Yang Liuji. This caused the surrounding people to be stunned. Ha! I know you care about me. You are worried that the food won't taste good when it gets cold. Don't worry. Once I finish him, the food won't get cold. Lu Ming laughed. Everyone else's lips started to tremble. These 2 people were more confident than the other. They were still thinking about eating, and the dishes wouldn't even get cold. Come on, your opponent is Yang Liuji, a genius on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard, not a nobody on the street. Arrogant, too arrogant. Yang Liuji was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He felt a throbbing pain in his heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys. He took a few deep breaths and forced himself to calm down. It's useless to rely on your mouth. You will pay for your stupidity soon. Yang Liuji roared. The scorching aura on his body became more intense. He was like a sun and almost set the restaurant on fire. It's too narrow here. Let's go out and fight. Lu Ming said. Okay, that's what I want. Yang Liuji shouted angrily. The 2 of them moved and flew out of the window. They appeared in the sky above the small lake outside the window. At that moment, the people on the other floors of the restaurant were alerted. They looked out one by one. That's Yang Liuji. Yang Liuji is going to fight with someone. Who is the other person? Is he also a genius on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard? No, there is no such person on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. He is so young. He looks less than 20 years old. This person dares to fight with Yang Liuji. There will be a good show. The people on the other floors of the restaurant were discussing. Go to hell. As soon as Yang Liuji left the restaurant, he roared and the aura on his body exploded. Peak martial ancestor, realm, 5th realm. Apparently, Yang Liuji's cultivation had improved during this period of time. Back in the Cloud Emperor Palace, Yang Liuji's cultivation was only at the early stage of martial ancestor realm, 5th realm. Boom! A powerful fire aura exploded and made Yang Liuji look like a small sun. He exuded a scorching aura, and the lake below started to boil. Steam started to rise. Divine Sun Fist. Chapter 358. A fist radiance that was as bright as the sun shot towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming threw out a palm, and a huge palm print appeared and collided with the fist radiance. After a loud explosion, the fist radiance and the palm print dissipated. One move, Lu Ming muttered. Didn't Yang Liuji say that he would kill him in 3 moves? Suemo calculated for him. Yang Liuji's face changed. Lu Ming was actually able to block one of his moves. His gaze turned grave. Divine Sun Fist, sky-shattering fist radiance. Yang Liuji roared again and threw out a punch. This punch was even more terrifying, and it was as bright as the sun. Yang Liuji, who had reached the peak of Martial Ancestor Realm 5, had terrifying combat strength. An ordinary martial artist who was at the peak of Martial Ancestor Realm 7 would only have such combat strength. Beast out palm. Lu Ming threw out another palm. A huge beast claw appeared and grabbed at the fist radiance that was as bright as the sun. Poof! The fist force that was as bright as the sun was extinguished by the beast's claw like a pitiful little flame. 2 moves. Lu Ming said again. The spectators were stunned, especially the people on the 5th floor. They were even more shocked. Lu Ming was able to fight against Yang Liuji. This was unbelievable. The Blazing Sun Empire was too terrifying. Experts were emerging one after another. Ah, damn it, Divine Sun Fist, burn the world. Yang Liuji roared angrily and used his strongest move. At the same time, his bloodline power exploded. His bloodline was also at level 2 king class. Splash! The lake water below churned and actually boiled. A shocking fist radiance came down from the top towards Lu Ming. Break! Lu Ming spoke softly. A long spear appeared in his hands. He dashed upward and thrust his spear. Poof! Poof! The long spear pierced through Yang Liuji's fist radiance, and Lu Ming flew up into the sky. 3 moves, Yang Liuji. You said that you would kill me in 3 moves. You want to kill me with such a weak move. What a joke! Lu Ming said contemptuously. Damn it, damn it! How did this little bastard become so strong? How is that possible? Yang Liuji roared in his heart as his expression turned ugly. He stared at Lu Ming and said coldly, I'll let you go today. We'll fight another day. After saying that, he wanted to leave. Another day? Did I say another day? You want to leave after fighting? How can there be such a good thing in this world? Stay here. Lu Ming said coldly. A terrifying aura enveloped Yang Liuji. What do you want? Do you still want to attack me? Audacious. I am a disciple of the Great Sun Abode. Do you understand? I am a disciple of the Great Sun Palace. Yang Liuji roared. You don't have to repeat yourself twice. You're a disciple of the Great Sun Constabulary. What does the Great Sun Constabulary have to do with me? I don't care where you're from. Lu Ming shouted loudly. His aura was wild as he fiercely pulled out his long spear. Boom! A spear light that was hundreds of meters long blasted towards Yang Liuji with the power of wind and fire. While the spear light was still in the air, the lake below was suppressed by the force. The lake water was separated into 2 sides, forming a waterless area that was hundreds of meters long. It was the same shape as the spear light. Yang Liuji roared and unleashed his full strength. He continuously punched the air, trying to block the spear light. But it was useless. The punches were like fireworks, dispersing in one hit. The spear light did not stop there and heavily smashed onto Yang Liuji's body. Yang Liuji's body was like a cannonball as he fell towards the lake. Boom! He crashed heavily into the lake, causing huge waves to rise to the sky. Even the ground shook as a whirlpool appeared on the lake. Everyone saw that Yang Liuji had created a deep hole at the bottom of the lake. The lake water poured out and drowned Yang Liuji. The spectators were all dumbfounded as they watched in a daze. This was too violent. Yang Liuji was defeated in 1 move, and Yang Liuji did not have the slightest ability to fight back. Especially the spectators On the 5th level, their mouths were open so wide that they could swallow a chicken. Crazy. The Burning Sun Empire is crazy. How can there be so many geniuses? Yeah, the Burning Sun Empire's national strength has always been ranked at the bottom. How can there be so many geniuses? What the hell? The spectators on the 5th level shouted in disbelief. Swoosh! At this moment, a figure rushed into the lake, and in the next moment, rushed out again. It was Blue Cloud. He was carrying Yang Liuji in his arms. At this moment, Yang Liuji was covered in blood. His face was pale, and blood kept dripping from his mouth. His eyes were filled with disbelief, shame, and anger. Previously, he had shamelessly said that he could kill Lu Ming in 3 moves. In the end, Lu Ming had easily taken 3 moves from him. Not only that, but he had also beaten him half to death with 1 move. This made him want to find a hole to hide in. If you don't have the strength, then keep a low profile. Don't always act like you're the best in the world. It's embarrassing. This time, I'll teach you a lesson. Get lost. Lu Ming waved his hand as if he was a senior lecturing a junior. You. Yang Liuji was enraged, and he spat out another mouthful of blood. Lu Ming, don't be arrogant. You'd better not meet my big brother in the selection. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. Let's go. Blue Cloud Fei shouted angrily. Then he rushed into the sky. Lu Ming smiled and did not take it to heart. With a flash, he returned to the restaurant. Come, let's continue eating. Lu Ming laughed and sat down to eat. The rest of the people in the restaurant were stunned. Brother Lu, we have to be careful of the big brother that Blue Cloud Fei mentioned. Feng Wuji said, solemnly. That's right. The 5th genius on the Emperor Yun leaderboard also has the surname Blue Cloud. His name is Blue Cloud Dao. He's most likely Blue Cloud Fei's big brother. Ling Yinchi said, solemnly. Although Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, they did not think that Lu Ming could be a match for the top geniuses on the Emperor Yun leaderboard. Those people were too strong. They were all demons. 5th on the Emperor Yun leaderboard. Lu Ming's eyes flashed, and he smiled. He did not mind and continued eating. After a short while, the 4 of them left the restaurant and walked around for a while before they found an inn to stay in. There were still 3 days before the selection of the Emperor Tian Divine Guards. It was still early. At this moment, news of the battle between Xian Yanqing, Lu Ming, Blue Cloud Fei, and Yang Liuji spread quickly. Many people were shocked, and they sighed. There were so many geniuses now. Another unknown genius had risen. In the room of the inn, Lu Ming sat with his legs crossed and thought about the previous battle. This was the first time that Lu Ming had fought with a genius on the Emperor Yun leaderboard. Although he looked confident, he did not dare to underestimate his opponent. Yang Liuji was only ranked 33rd on the Emperor Yun leaderboard. However, his cultivation had reached the peak of rank 5 martial ancestor realm, and his combat strength was comparable to an ordinary martial artist who was at the peak of rank 7 martial ancestor realm. In that case, how strong were the geniuses who were ranked at the top, especially the geniuses who were ranked in the top 10? How strong were they? Lu Ming did not dare to underestimate his opponent. My biggest disadvantage now is that my cultivation is only at the peak of rank 4 martial ancestor realm. I have to find a way to break through as soon as possible, Lu Ming thought to himself. Chapter 359. Immediately, Lu Ming circulated the True Dragon battle art and started polishing his true chi. A day passed in the blink of an eye. On the evening of the 2nd day, the people from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace actually found them. They sent an invitation letter to Xian Yanqing. It was the invitation letter for the selection of the Tian Divine Guards. It seemed like the news of Xie Nianqing defeating Blue Cloud Fei yesterday had already reached the upper echelons of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Hence, they sent an invitation letter. With Xie Nianqing's combat strength, he was definitely qualified to receive an invitation letter. The next 2 days were peaceful. No one disturbed Lu Ming and the rest. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the preliminaries of the Emperor Heaven Divine Guards. The preliminaries of the Emperor Heaven Divine Guards were to select a group of elites from the 36 countries of the Cloud Emperor who had received an invitation letter. Only these people were qualified to participate in the selection of the Emperor Heaven Divine Guards. The gathering place for the preliminaries was in front of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's residence in the Cloud Desolate Royal Capital. Early in the morning, Lu Ming, Xie Nianqing, Feng Wuji, and Ling Yanqi headed towards the gathering place. The Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's residence in the Cloud Desolate Empire's royal capital was extremely majestic. It was even more majestic than the Cloud Desolate Empire's imperial palace. In front of the residence, there was a wide square. When Lu Ming and the rest arrived, the square was already filled with people. Most of them were people who were here to watch the show. However, there were only a few people in the square. This was because there were people from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace guarding the square. Only the geniuses who were participating in the preliminaries could enter. If others were discovered, they would be killed without mercy. No one dared to take this risk. When Lu Ming and the rest arrived, they headed straight for the square. Look, the geniuses who are participating in the preliminaries are here. 2 of them look very young. Which empire are they from? I don't know them. They are very unfamiliar. I know. I saw them a few days ago. The 2 young men and women are the ones who defeated Yang Liuji and Blue Cloud Fei 3 days ago. They are geniuses from the Scorching Sun Empire. As the crowd was discussing, someone suddenly shouted, "What? It's them. They're as young as the rumors say." I thought the rumors were exaggerated. I can't believe that the Burning Sun Empire has such a genius. In these few days, the names of Lu Ming and Xie Nianqing had already spread throughout the Cloud Desolate Royal Capital. Many people were very curious and looked at Lu Ming's group of 4. The 4 of them had also seen big scenes before. Their expressions didn't change. They walked to the square and stood at the side. "Looks like we came too early." Feng Wuji smiled and said, "It's a good opportunity to meet the other geniuses." Ling Yanqi's eyes were full of excitement. Time passed slowly, and more people arrived. Without a doubt, they were all young people under the age of 30. Most of them were in their 20s, and very few of them were under the age of 20. Look, that's Lu Shaofeng, ranked 35th on the Cloud Emperor list. Suddenly, someone pointed at a yellow-robed youth and shouted, "And that's Wang Kai, ranked 26th on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard." Gosh, that's Su Yingying, ranked 13th on the Cloud Emperor list. I've heard that Su Yingying is a beauty. She really lives up to her reputation. With the arrival of the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor list, the crowd was very excited. The 36 countries of the Cloud Emperor list were vast, and there were only 36 geniuses on the Cloud Emperor list. Usually, the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor list were scattered all over the place, and it was hard to see them. But now, there were so many of them, and everyone was excited. Even Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi looked at the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor list with sparkling eyes. Soon, there were more than 300 people in the square, and the number was still increasing. Lu Ming sighed. Those who received the invitation were at least geniuses like the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire. But now, there were hundreds of them. Lu Ming suddenly felt a murderous intent shrouding him. He could not help but turn around to take a look. The most terrifying thing was that a faint smile appeared at the corners of his lips. It was Yang Liuji. They had not seen each other for a few days, and Yang Liuji's injuries were almost healed. He looked coldly at Lu Ming. Beside Yang Liuji was a tall young man. He was wearing the same clothes as Yang Liuji. Obviously, he was also from the Sun Mansion of Blood Zhao. He stared at Lu Ming in an unfriendly manner. Yang Liuji is here. Is that Yan Feishuan, the top expert of the younger generation in the Great Sun Empire? It must be him, Yan Feishuan, ranked 9th on the Cloud Emperor list. There were exclamations all around. The top 10 geniuses on the Cloud Emperor list had finally appeared. Yan Feishuan's arrival seemed to have signaled the arrival of the top 10 geniuses. In the sky, there was a flash of blue light, and 2 figures appeared in the square. One of the 2 blue-robed young men was Blue Cloud Fei. The other person was tall and slender. He carried a saber on his back, and his aura was wild. Blue Cloud Fei and Blue Cloud Dao. Blue Cloud Dao, ranked 5th, is here. There was another round of exclamations. As soon as Lan Yunfei and Lan Yundao arrived, they scanned the surroundings. In the next moment, they discovered Lu Ming and the group. The 2 of them strode towards Lu Ming and the others. This is going to be interesting. The crowd focused their attention on Blue Cloud Dao and Lu Ming. The geniuses in the square were also watching with interest. Soon, Blue Cloud Fei and Blue Cloud Dao were not far away from Lu Ming and the others. You 2 are Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing? Blue Cloud Fei asked. His eyes fell on Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing, and he did not hide the murderous intent in his eyes. Yes, I didn't expect to be so famous now. Lu Ming smiled and did not care. Xian Yanqing curled his lips and did not even bother to reply. Seeing this, Blue Cloud Dao's face turned gloomy, and he said coldly, "You dare to beat up my Blue Blade family. You have guts. However, those who dare to beat up my Blue Blade family are no longer in this world." Is that so? Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue when you talk big? The world is so big, and there are so many experts. There are plenty of people who can destroy your clan with a flick of their hand. How dare you say that the people who dared to hit your Blue Blade aristocratic family are no longer in this world? Lu Ming said indifferently, and his voice was filled with sarcasm. What did you say? Blue Cloud Dao was furious. Brother Lan, why are you talking nonsense with them? Just kill them. At this moment, Yan Feishuan walked over and said with murderous intent, "You want to kill me? Why don't you try?" Lu Ming's eyes were filled with murderous intent, and a powerful aura rose from his body. Xian Yanqing, Feng Wuji, and Ling Yanqi walked to Lu Ming's side and released their auras. They stared at Yan Feishuan, Blue Cloud Dao, and the others. A battle was about to break out. This place does not allow a battle. Violators will be killed. Suddenly, a middle-aged man shouted, and a mountain-like pressure rose from his body. This man was a guard of the Di Tian Divine Palace. Blue Cloud Dao and Yan Feishuan's faces changed, and they retracted their auras. Lu Ming and the others also retracted their auras. Humph, I'll let you off today. Lu Ming, I hope you can pass the preliminaries smoothly. At the Di Tian Divine Guard preliminaries, I'll let you know the consequences of offending the Blue Saber family clan. Chapter 360. Yan Feishuan and Yang Liuji also cast a cold glance at Lu Ming and turned to leave. Miss Xia, Brother Lu, you must be careful. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi were worried. Don't worry. Lu Ming smiled faintly, looking relaxed. Xian Yanqing was expressionless. Swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, There were sounds of people flying through the air. Qiu Changkong is here. And the strongest dark horse, Prince Huling. Someone shouted. Lu Ming looked up and saw a few figures flying down from the sky. One of them was very young, about 21 or 22 years old. He wore a long red robe, and his eyes were like lightning. His aura was strong, and he looked around with his hands behind his back. This person must be Prince Huling. The other person was carrying a battle sword. If he wasn't Qiu Changkong, who else could he be? Qiu Changkong saw Lu Ming the moment he arrived, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Lu Ming, I don't know how you managed to get your hands on the invitation letter. If you didn't participate in the selection of the D Tian Divine Guards, you would have been able to live a little longer. Now that you're here, you're courting death. After the preliminaries, the real preliminaries will be the time of your death. Qiu Changkong's eyes were cold, and his mind was filled with thoughts. He had heard the news that Lu Ming had defeated Yang Liuji, and he was shocked. He was shocked that Lu Ming had the invitation letter, and was also shocked by Lu Ming's strength. However, he was only shocked at the beginning, and was not afraid. He was confident that he could kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming looked at Qiu Changkong, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He must kill Qiu Changkong. Lu Yuntian had been tortured for 8 years because of Qiu Changkong. Swoosh, swoosh. The sound of people flying through the air could be heard from time to time. Not long after, Jiang Hongwen, who was ranked 3rd on the Emperor Yun board, and Prince Tianxi, who was ranked 2nd, arrived together. Prince Tianxi was wearing a green robe. His face was gloomy, and his eyes were cold like a poisonous snake. Anyone who was stared at by him would feel cold. Jiang Hongwen's figure was tall, and his aura was grand and domineering. He was the complete opposite of young Master Heavenly Snake. Up until now, there were nearly 600 people in the square. All of them were dragons and phoenixes among men. Their auras were extraordinary, and when they gathered together, it was incomparably spectacular. Jian Fengyun still hasn't come. Could he be dead? He. Suddenly, a gloomy and cold voice sounded out, and it was from young Master Heavenly Serpent. Everyone couldn't help but look at him. Even a poisonous snake like you didn't die. How could Jian Fengyun die? Jiang Hongwen sneered coldly. Many people's expressions changed slightly. There were not many people on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard who dared to speak to young Master Sky Snake like that. Blue Cloud Dao was ranked 5th. He was arrogant and rampant, but in front of Sky Snake Young Master, he had to be well-behaved. I heard that Jian Fengyun went to another area to train. It's normal for him to die outside. Young Master Heavenly Snake smiled sinisterly. Jian Fengyun was the #1 genius on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. He was the #1 expert of the younger generation in the Cloud Emperor's 36 countries. Ha! Wei Tianxi, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. At this moment, a loud laugh came from afar. Whoosh! A sword light cut through the void with unbelievable speed. It was clearly still 10 miles away a moment ago, but the next moment, it was above the square. The sword light dissipated, and a young figure appeared, 24 or 25 years old, wearing a gray robe with a slender figure and bright eyes. His entire person looked like a peerless divine sword that had not been unsheathed. The most eye-catching thing was that there was a long scar on his face. It was very hideous. Jian Fengyun, you're finally here. Young Master Heavenly Serpent's eyes moved, revealing a trace of solemnity. This person was Jian Fengyun, the #1 on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. There was a burst of excited discussion at the scene. Why is there an additional scar on Jian Fengyun's face? It wasn't there before. Who's so powerful to leave a scar on Jian Fengyun's face? There was a burst of whispers in the vicinity. Wei Tianxi, I'm here. Are you very disappointed? Jian Fengyun looked at young Master Heavenly Serpent and said, What's there to be disappointed about? You came at the right time. This time, I'll completely defeat you. Young Master Heavenly Serpent sneered. Then his eyes flickered as he said, Jian Fengyun, I heard that you went to other regions to train. What's wrong? You were injured? That's too embarrassing. What's there to be embarrassed about? I was training in the Qianjiang water region and was injured by a genius there. I have to tell you that the geniuses of other regions are extremely powerful, far stronger than the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Jian Fengyun said calmly. This caused young Master Heavenly Serpent Jiang Hongwen and the other geniuses' faces to turn solemn. Jian Fengyun, what's your ranking in the Qianjiang water region? Young Master Heavenly Serpent asked. 18th. Jian Fengyun said word by word. What? As soon as these words came out, the whole place was in an uproar. The number 1 genius of the Cloud Emperor mountain range was defeated by the 18th genius of the Qianjiang water region and left with a scar on his face. How was that possible? Was the Qianjiang water region really that powerful? Ha! Jian Fengyun, in my opinion, it's not that your opponent is too strong, but that you're too weak. It seems like you've regressed in the past few years. This time, I'll surpass you completely. Young Master Heavenly Serpent burst out laughing. He didn't believe that the Qianjiang water region was that strong. If the 18th genius could defeat Jian Fengyun, wouldn't that mean that there were at least 18 geniuses above him, Prince Sky Snake? And this was just the Qianjiang water region. What about the other regions? With Prince Sky Snake's pride, he definitely didn't believe that so many geniuses could surpass him. He felt that Jian Fengyun was too weak and didn't advance. Many people nodded their heads and were more willing to believe Prince Sky Snake's words. A frog at the bottom of a well. Jian Fengyun smiled faintly and couldn't be bothered to say more. Prince Sky Snake snorted and stood by the side. As of now, the number of people had reached 600. Ka. At this moment, the door of the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace opened, and a few figures walked out. Leading them was a white-haired old man in a black robe. The old man had a benevolent look and didn't have any aura around him. He was just like an ordinary person who didn't cultivate. However, no one dared to underestimate him because he was from the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace. It seems like everyone is here. Let me introduce myself. My name is Lu Xiu, and I'm the host of this preliminary round. When you participate in the real selection, I'll be the one leading you. The old man introduced himself. Greetings, Senior Lu. The geniuses in the square bowed in unison. Lu Xiu nodded his head and said, All right, let's cut to the chase. Follow me. The location of the preliminary round isn't here. With that, Lu Xiu soared into the sky and flew towards the north. The participating geniuses in the square also soared into the sky and followed him. Lu Ming and the other 3 blended into the crowd and didn't attract any attention. The spectators in the square sighed and felt that it was a pity. Chapter 361. The group of 600 people flew above the Cloud Desolate Empire's imperial capital. It was a spectacular sight. Their target was a mountain to the north of the imperial capital. It was only 100 miles away, so they arrived in a flash. Lu Xiu led the group to a flat area in front of 2 mountains. Okay, I'll tell you the rules of the preliminaries. The preliminaries are actually very simple. It's divided into 2 rounds. The first round is to test your force. It will test your understanding of force. Those who haven't reached greater success will be eliminated. Lu Xiu announced loudly. What? were being eliminated without reaching greater success. Someone yelled in disappointment. Okay, you see the stone pillar in front of you. It's a treasure to test your force. As long as you input your force into the pillar, it will have different colors. It's divided into blue, purple, silver, and gold. They correspond to the entry, initial success, greater success, and perfection of your force. Only when the pillar has a silver color will you pass. Now, let's begin. Lu Xiu announced loudly. Lu Ming and the others nodded. The rules were simple. I'll go first. A skinny youth walked out confidently. He walked to the front of the stone pillar and struck out with his palm. A powerful force of wind surged out from his palm and poured into the stone pillar. Instantly, the stone pillar emitted a faint silver light. It was beautiful. Force of wind, early stage of greater success. Pass. Next, Lu Xiu announced. There were naturally people registering on the side. I'll go. A muscular youth walked out, and a powerful force poured into the stone pillar. The stone pillar immediately emitted a silver light. It was darker than the previous youths. Force of earth, middle stage of greater success. Pass. Next, Lu Xiu announced. Next, the youths went up one by one. These youths' force had all reached greater success. Some were in the early stage, some were in the middle stage, and only a small number were in the late stage. Those who hadn't reached greater success didn't even go up. I'll go too. Me too. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi also went up. Feng Wuji had comprehended the force of wind and had reached the early stage of greater success. Ling Yanqi had comprehended the force of fire and had reached the middle stage of greater success. Soon, more than 400 youths had all passed. At the level of the 6 blazing sun heroes, most of the geniuses had already achieved great success in their sure. Of course, there were a few who didn't. However, not a single one of them had reached perfection. Although there was only a single step between mastery and perfection in force, the difference was huge. One was flawed while the other was perfect. The difference in power was several times greater. Yang Liuji is up. Many people's eyes lit up. Until now, none of the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard had entered the arena. They wanted to see how powerful the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard were. Yang Liuji walked in front of the stone pillar, his body emitting a blazing aura. With a wave of his hand, his power surged into the stone pillar. Wang! The stone pillar trembled, and an extremely dense silver light was emitted, making the entire stone pillar look as if it was made of pure silver. Fire force, great success limit. Lu Xiu announced. He was just a step away from reaching consummation. This was the first person who had reached the peak of great accomplishment, ensure. Lu Ming's eyes were calm, and he wasn't surprised at all. He had fought with Yang Liuji before, and he was well aware of Yang Liuji's strength. Yang Liuji's appearance had opened the curtains for the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. Following that, the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard entered the arena one by one. Unfortunately, most of the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard had only reached the peak of great accomplishment. Some of them were only at the late stage of great accomplishment, and none of them had reached consummation. Even those who were ranked in the top 10 were only at the peak of great accomplishment. Prince Huling is up. Someone shouted. Prince Huling strode forward arrogantly, but he was only at the peak of great accomplishment. After that, Qiu Changkong, Yen, Fei Xuan, and Blue Cloud went up one by one. Unfortunately, none of them had reached the consummation level. This showed how difficult it was to reach the consummation level. I'm going to take the test. Do you want to come along? Xian Yanqing glanced at Lu Ming. Sure. Lu Ming nodded. The two of them attracted a lot of attention. Blue Cloud said, Yen Feishuan, Chiu Changkong, and Chiu Changkong looked over coldly. Shall I go first, or shall you go first? Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming. Either one is fine. Lu Ming said with a smile, Then you go first. Xian Yanqing said. Lu Ming stepped forward, and a blazing aura burst out from his body. The force of fire surged into the stone pillar, and it immediately turned pure silver. The force of fire has reached the peak of great accomplishment, Lu Xiu announced. Many people weren't surprised. Lu Ming was able to defeat Yang Liuji, so his understanding of force wouldn't be bad. It was normal for him to reach the peak of great accomplishment. Lu Ming smiled and took a few steps back. During this period, he had cultivated the force of fire to the peak of great accomplishment, but it was difficult for him to reach consummation. As for the force of wind, it had reached the peak of lesser accomplishment and was about to reach great accomplishment. Lu Ming believed that the combination of the two forces wouldn't be any weaker than a consummation force. Lu Ming retreated while Xian Yanqing stepped forward. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying force erupted from Xian Yanqing's body, and a green light surrounded him. Whoosh! This was the force of wind. The powerful force of wind surged into the stone pillar. Buzz! The stone pillar shook violently, and in the next moment, rays of golden light spread out. Golden light! It's golden light! Someone shouted. Consummation force. This woman has cultivated her force to the consummation stage. Terrifying. Monster. Why haven't I heard of it before? The surroundings were in an uproar, and there were waves of exclamations. Lu Ming was stunned as well. Subsequently, he sighed. A 7th-level king-level bloodline was indeed terrifying. Even the comprehension of force was unique and profound. Yen Feishuan and Blue Cloud said. Chiu Changkong and the other two's eyes flashed with killing intent. Jian Fengyun, Prince Tianxi, and Jiang Hongwen's eyes lit up. Prince Sky Snake, in particular, stared fixedly at Xian Yanqing. His eyes flashed with the flames of greed and lust. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi opened their mouths in shock. Force of wind, consummation. Good, good, good. Lu Xiu laughed and was overjoyed. The stronger the geniuses in the Cloud Emperor mountain range were, the greater his contribution would be, and he would be rewarded accordingly. He was naturally happy. Humph! Xian Yanqing retracted his qi and walked to Lu Ming's side. He curled his lips provocatively as if he was saying, See, I'm stronger than you. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and touched his nose. Next, Lu Xiu shouted, Let me. Jiang Hongwen strode forward and waved his hand. A force landed on the stone pillar. The stone pillar shook and emitted a golden light. Force consummation. Let me. Prince Tianxi stepped forward, and his body trembled slightly. A force like a long snake slammed into the stone pillar. In the next moment, golden light spread out. It's your turn. Prince Tianxi looked at Jian Fengyun. Jian Fengyun smiled and stood still. Suddenly, 2 rays of sword light shot out from his eyes. The sword light was condensed from his force, and it landed on the stone pillar. The stone pillar shook violently and emitted a rich golden light. Similarly, force consummation. From then on, only 4 people's force had reached consummation. Chapter 362. Who else would like to take the test? Lu Xiu looked at the remaining 60 overpeople. These 60 overpeople had been standing still. Obviously, they had no confidence in themselves. At this moment, their faces were pale and they were hesitant. If you don't come up, you will be disqualified. Lu Xiu announced. Let me. Finally, someone went up and decided to give it a try. Unfortunately, his force was only at the limit of small success. and had not reached greater success. He was mercilessly eliminated. Then a few more people went up, hoping to get lucky, but they were all eliminated. The remaining people shook their heads and sighed. No one continued to take the test because there was no need to. They knew best whether their force had reached greater success or not. All right, those who have been eliminated leave this place. Those who have succeeded follow me into the Valley of Illusions. Lucio said loudly. Those who had been eliminated sighed and left the place, ending the selection of the Tion Divine Guards. All right, follow me, Lucio said, then turned around and walked away. The Valley of Illusions was in the middle of the two mountains. That place was heavily guarded by soldiers. Following Lucio, there were no obstructions, and they arrived at the valley. The valley was very wide, at least 1,000 meters wide. There were cliffs on both sides. In front of the valley, there was a huge light screen that separated the valley. Behind the light screen, it was hazy and nothing could be seen. Behind this light screen, there is an inscription array called the 10,000 Illusions Killing Array. The second round of the preliminaries will take place in this array. As long as you enter the 10,000 Illusions Killing Array, powerful martial artists or demonic beasts will be formed. As long as you kill the martial artists or demonic beasts inside, you will obtain the corresponding points. The 2 stone tablets in front of the 10,000 Illusions Killing Array will show your points and ranking. Only those who have reached 500 points will be considered as having passed the test. Only then will they be able to participate in the true selection of the Tion Divine Guards. The time limit is only half an hour. Once half an hour is up, you will be automatically teleported out. This standard is the same in many regions of the Tianxian region. Lucio briefly introduced the rules of the second round of preliminaries. As expected, in front of the light screen, the crowd saw 2 huge stone tablets that were 100 meters tall and 10 meters wide. All right, the rules are simple. Next, it will depend on your strength. The 10,000 Illusions Killing Array can accommodate 50 people each time. You can make your choice. You can start now, Lucio announced. Hearing Lucio's words, everyone looked at each other. Then, someone walked out in large strides towards the 10,000 Illusions Killing Array. With someone taking the lead, the others naturally followed suit. After a short while, 50 people charged into the 10,000 Illusionary Killing Array. When the 50 people rushed into the 10,000 Illusionary Killing Array, the 2 stone tablets in front of them emitted a hazy light. After only a few breaths of time, a few lines of words suddenly appeared on the first stone tablet. Hornet, 1 point. Longmao, 1 point. 7 or 8 names appeared consecutively. Behind each name, there was a corresponding score. After a few more breaths, some people's points went from 1 to 2, and then to 3. More and more names appeared on the stone tablet. 2 minutes later, 50 names appeared on the stone tablet. Behind each name, there was a corresponding score. Some people's points increased very quickly, while others were much slower. A moment later, someone's points had already reached 400, approaching 500. As long as one reached 500 points, they would be able to pass the preliminaries and obtain the qualifications to participate in the real selection. At this moment, the light screen trembled, and someone flew out from it. Everyone saw that there were wounds on this person's body, and blood was dripping from them. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that this array was not that safe. As soon as this person flew out, his name disappeared from the first stone tablet. This person's face was dejected. Obviously, he had failed. After this person, the light screen trembled from time to time, and people kept flying out. Of these people who flew out, there was no doubt that none of them had reached 500 points. All of them ended in failure. When half an hour was about to end, 47 people had flown out, and these 47 people did not reach 500 points. Only the last 3 people who flew out had more than 500 points. Among them, the person with the highest score was 553 points. When the last 3 people came out, the second stone tablet lit up and 3 names appeared. First place, Hornet, 553 points. Second place, these 3 names were the 3 people who had reached 500 points. These 3 people were naturally overjoyed, while the other 47 people had unsightly expressions and were incomparably discouraged. The remaining people who had not yet entered looked extremely solemn. The elimination rate was too high. Out of the 50 people, 47 people were eliminated and only 3 passed. Although there weren't any powerful geniuses in this group, the elimination rate still made people gasp. All right, the first group has finished. Next group, continue. Lu Xiu announced, but everyone looked at each other, and for a moment, no one stepped forward. Hurry up. The result is the same whether it's morning or night. It won't be easy at night. Lu Xiu frowned slightly. What's there to hesitate about? I'll go. Yang Liuji snorted coldly and strode forward. Then, one figure after another walked forward. 50 people disappeared into the light screen. Almost a breath after entering the light screen, a name suddenly flashed on the first stone tablet. Yang Liuji. Then, Yang Liuji's points soared crazily. 1 point, 2 points, 5 points, 10 points. The speed of the increase was terrifying. In just 5 minutes, his points had exceeded 500 points, and it was still rising. Compared to him, the others were much slower. Yang Liuji's points only slowed down when it exceeded 1,000 points. At this moment, the light screen kept shaking, and people flew out from it. Soon, half an hour had passed, and the people in this group had all come out. This time, a total of 6 people had accumulated more than 500 points and passed the preliminaries. The names of these 6 people also appeared on the second stone tablet. Including the 3 people in front, there were a total of 9 names on the second stone tablet. Yang Liuji had a total of 1,210 points and was ranked first. Yang Liuji looked proud and walked to the side. Then, the third group of 50 people entered. This time, 5 people passed. This group also had a genius on the Emperor Yin leaderboard. This person was slightly stronger than Yang Liuji, and his points were 22 points more than Yang Liuji's. He rushed to the first place, and Yang Liuji fell to the second place. Then, the fourth group, the fifth group, Chapter 363. The ranking on the second stone tablet was constantly fluctuating. People were constantly being surpassed, and people were constantly rushing to the top. After the sixth group, Yang Liuji had fallen to 21st place. This made his expression extremely gloomy, especially when a few unknown people had surpassed him. This made his expression even uglier. There were still many experts who had yet to enter the arena. Yang Liuji was originally ambitious and wanted to rush to the top 30 or even the top 20. Now, it seemed like there was no hope at all. It would be considered good if he could keep his position on the Emperor Yin leaderboard. After the sixth group, it was the seventh group's turn. Brother Yin, shall we join the battle? Blue Cloud looked at Yin Feishuan and said with a smile, "That's what I want." Yin Feishuan smiled. "Count me in." A young man in a green shirt stepped out. Everyone recognized that he was Ji Rafeng, who was ranked 7th. The top 10 geniuses are going to join the battle. Everyone was shocked, and they were looking forward to it. This time, would there be a change in the top 10 rankings? With a flash, the young men rushed forward one by one. Young Master Huling is joining the battle too, and Qiu Chongkong. Someone shouted, Lu Ming looked up and saw the arrogant young Master Huling and Qiu Changkong. The two of them had attracted a lot of attention recently. Many people were guessing if the two of them could make it to the top 10. Whoosh, whoosh. 50 figures rushed into the 1,000 illusion killing array. Everyone's eyes were burning as they stared at the 2 stone tablets. There were many experts in this group, and the competition would be fierce. Buzz. Almost as soon as everyone rushed in, the first stone tablet suddenly shone with names. Blue Cloud said, Ji Rafeng, Yen Feishuan, Qiu Changkong, young Master Huling. At the same time, the points behind their names jumped rapidly and began to soar. The 5 of them were increasing their points at almost the same speed, and they left the others far behind. In just 2 minutes, the 5 of them had more than 500 points and continued to soar. In 8 minutes, their points had exceeded 1,000 points. At this time, the 5 of them gradually slowed down. It's amazing that Qiu Changkong and young Master Huling can keep up with Blue Cloud. Their speed is amazing. Could it be that the two of them can really make it into the top 10? It's hard to say. The 10,000 illusionary killing array becomes more and more difficult as one progresses further. At their level, if one wants to determine the victor, it will depend on the competition later on. Many youths discussed animatedly. The points continued to rise. 1,500, 1,800, 2,000. After 20 minutes, all 5 of them had scored more than 2,000 points. At this time, it could be seen that Blue Cloud's Dao was rising the fastest, followed by Ji Rafeng. On the other hand, Yen Feishuan, Qiu Changkong, and young Master Huling were about the same. When they broke through the 2,100 mark, Yen Feishuan, young Noble Huling, and Qiu Changkong's points increased at a snail's pace. When the 30 minutes were up, the light screen trembled and several figures flew out. They were Yen Feishuan, Qiu Changkong, and young Master Huling. Their faces were pale, and their auras were weak. Qiu Changkong is in the lead. His points are actually higher than Huling and Yen Feishuan. Someone cried out loudly, full of shock. Qiu Changkong's score was 2,235. Yen Feishuan's score was 2,205, which was 30 points lower than Qiu Changkong's. Young Noble Huling's score was 30 points lower than Yen Feishuan's. Damn it! Yen Feishuan shouted angrily, and his eyes flashed with killing intent. He was actually surpassed by Qiu Changkong. Humph! It's just luck. If we were to fight head-on, I would definitely be able to kill them all. Young Noble Huling snorted coldly, feeling very unhappy. When the time came, Blue Cloud's Dao and Ji Rafeng also appeared. Both of them had scored more than 2,400 points, but Blue Cloud's Dao had scored more points and was ahead of Ji Rafeng. At this time, the second stone tablet flickered, and the rankings on it also changed. Blue Cloud's Dao was temporarily first, Ji Rafeng was second, Qiu Changkong was third, Yen Feishuan was fourth, and young Noble Huling was fifth. As for Yang Liuji, he had already reached the 29th place. This made Yang Liuji's face as gloomy as charcoal. Next, the 8th group. Lu Xiu announced. As soon as his voice fell, a young man stepped out. Jian Feng Yun. Everyone's hearts shook violently. Jian Feng Yun was going to fight, and everyone was extremely excited. Jian Feng Yun, a rare demonic genius, dominated the Emperor Yun board and suppressed the other geniuses in the Emperor Yun mountain range because he was too strong. As for him, no one had seen him fight for almost 2 years. Until now, what realm had his cultivation reached? Ha ha, Jian Feng Yun, you're finally going to fight. Good. Although this isn't a direct fight, it's still an indirect competition. Let me see how much progress you've made during this time. Young noble Tianchi sneered and stepped out. Since all of you are going to fight, I'll join in as well. Jiang Hongwen also stepped out with a smile. Everyone could only feel their hearts beating faster. The top 3 geniuses on the Emperor Yun board were going to fight together. This was too shocking and exciting. Everyone could already see countless sparks shining. 2 of the top 10 geniuses wanted to fight, but they stopped it this time. If they fought together with Jian Feng Yun, young noble Tianchi, and Jiang Hongwen, they would only be a supporting role. Tianchi, I will let you see the gap between you and me getting bigger and bigger. Jian Feng Yun smiled faintly, and his strong confidence was revealed. Humph, strength doesn't depend on words. Young noble Tianchi snorted. Whoosh, whoosh. In the next moment, figures flashed and rushed into the 10,000 illusion-killing array. Then, the points began to soar crazily. Jian Fengyun, young noble Tianchi, and Jiang Hongwen's points soared at a terrifying speed. 500 points, 1,000 points, 1,500 points, 2,000 points. After reaching 2,000 points, their speed did not slow down, and they continued to soar. Many people's hearts were in their throats as they watched with their eyes wide open, afraid that they would miss an exciting scene. 3,000 points. When they reached 3,000 points, young noble Tianchi and Jiang Hongwen's speed began to slow down. However, Jian Fengyun's speed was still very fast. Gosh, 3,000 points. According to my speculation, after 3,000 points, the opponents will be at the early stage of the martial ancestor realm. Moreover, there will be 20 of them. That's right. Their opponents are indeed 20 experts at the early stage of the martial ancestor realm. Lu Xiu gave an affirmative answer. Everyone gasped, and Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. Facing the siege of 20 experts at the early stage of the martial ancestor realm, Jian Feng Yun's points continued to increase. The top 3 on the Emperor Yun board were indeed terrifying. As time passed, it became harder for young noble Tianchi and Jiang Hongwen to increase their points. In the end, they basically came to a standstill. Jian Feng Yun's points continued to increase. In the end, he was more than 600 points ahead of young noble Tianchi. Whoosh, whoosh. Chapter 364. The moment he came out, young Master Sky Snake hurriedly looked at the stone tablet. When he saw the score on the stone tablet, young Master Sky Snake's expression changed drastically. He roared furiously. Impossible! Jian Fengyun, how can your score be so much higher than mine? 600 points higher than Jian Fengyun's score. This wasn't a small difference, but a few levels higher. Young Master Tian, she found it hard to believe that the gap between him and Jian Fengyun was so huge. Nothing is impossible, Sky Snake. You think that you're an unparalleled genius in the Cloud Emperor mountain range, but you're just a frog in a well. There are countless people like you in this world. Jian Fengyun said indifferently. Impossible, young Master Tian, she roared, thinking that Jian Fengyun was purposely attacking him. Jian Fengyun sneered and walked to the side, not bothering to talk to young Master Tianchi. The others were extremely shocked. Jian Fengyun was too strong. No wonder he was ranked first on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. He had a huge lead over the second place, and no one could surpass him. Lu Xiu nodded. This time, the Cloud Emperor mountain range would depend on Jian Fengyun for the selection. On the second stone tablet, there were changes to the rankings. Jian Fengyun was ranked first, and young Master Tian, she was ranked second, 100 points higher than Jiang Hongwen. Jiang Hongwen was ranked third. As for Lan Yundao and the others, their rankings had all dropped by 3 places. All right, Group 9, get ready, Lu Xiu announced. Lu Ming, let's go together. Let's see who can suppress who. Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming with a provocative look. "I'll keep you company." Lu Ming smiled. The two of them strode out. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanxi also rushed out. Xian Yanqing has made her move. Her presence has reached a terrifying level. I wonder what rank she will get. It's hard to say. The 1,000 illusion killing array tests one's overall combat strength. Presence is only one of the aspects of combat strength. Although Xian Yanqing's presence is strong, her overall combat strength might not be that strong. Bloodline rank, cultivation technique, physical body cultivation, comprehension of martial techniques, etc. Xian Yanqing's cultivation is too low. She might not be able to get a high rank. It would be good if she could get into the 36th place. You're right. The top 36th place is equivalent to getting into the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. Look, Shangguan Yunyan and the others have made their move. The surrounding crowd was discussing animatedly. Suddenly, there was a cry of surprise. Shangguan Yunyan was ranked 4th on the Monarch Cloud leaderboard. She was also the only female in the top 10 of the Monarch Cloud leaderboard. In addition, there were several geniuses in the top 10 of the Imperial Cloud ranking list, such as the 6th and 8th geniuses. Although Lu Ming defeated Yang Liuji, what was Yang Liuji's ranking now? He was about to drop out of the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. Even if Lu Ming could defeat him, how powerful could he be? At most, he could get into the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. That would not attract the crowd's attention. Whoosh, whoosh. The 50 people rushed into the 1,000 illusion killing array and disappeared. As soon as Lu Ming rushed into the light screen, he suddenly felt dizzy. In the next moment, he found himself standing on a grassland. In front of him, there was a flash of light. Demonic beasts were forming. There were 20 black tigers in total. They looked at Lu Ming with murderous intent. They roared and pounced on Lu Ming. They are equivalent to the early 5th level of the martial ancestor realm. Kill one, and you will get 1 point. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as some information flashed through his mind. At the same time, the demon-banishing spear appeared in his hand, and he swung it. Bang, bang. Like fireworks, the 20 demonic beasts that were equivalent to the early 5th level of the martial ancestor realm were all blown up by Lu Ming's spear. They turned into wisps of energy and dissipated in the air. Whoosh, whoosh. After the 20 tigers were blown up, the energy in the air swept across the place. A few breaths later, another 20 tigers appeared. The difference was that the auras of these 20 tigers were stronger than before. They had reached the middle 5th level of the martial ancestor realm. Middle 5th level of the martial ancestor realm. Kill one, and you will get 2 points. It was the same for everyone. At the beginning, they would encounter 20 demonic beasts of the early 5th level of the martial ancestor realm. After killing them all, stronger beasts would appear. Early 5th level of the martial ancestor realm. Kill one, and you will get 1 point. Middle 5th level of the martial ancestor realm. Kill one, and you will get 2 points. Late 5th level of the martial ancestor realm. Kill one, and you will get 3 points. Following that, every time one's cultivation level increased, the points would increase by 1 point. For example, peak 5th level of the martial ancestor realm was 4 points. Early 6th level of the martial ancestor realm was 5 points. In order to obtain 500 points and pass the preliminaries, one would have to reach the late 6th level of the martial ancestor realm and kill at least 6 of them. To be able to kill 6 demonic beasts of the late 6th level of the martial ancestor realm, one's overall strength would be comparable to a peak 6th level of the martial ancestor realm. The 20 tigers of the middle 5th level of the martial ancestor realm stood no chance against Lu Ming. Whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ming shook his long spear, and beams of spear gleams shot out. 20 huge tigers exploded under the spear gleams. On the stone tablet outside, Lu Ming's points increased rapidly. However, it did not attract too much attention. It was normal for his points to increase rapidly at the beginning. The battle continued in the 10,000 illusion formation. After the 20 tigers of the middle 5th level of the martial ancestor realm were killed, another 20 beasts of the late 5th level of the martial ancestor realm appeared. They were killed with ease. Following that, 20 tigers of the peak 5th level of the martial ancestor realm appeared. After the 20 tigers of the peak 5th level of the martial ancestor realm were killed, the heavens and earth changed rapidly. Lu Ming realized that he was in a swamp. Whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, 20 snakes as thick as a bowl shot out from the swamp and pounced toward Lu Ming. The strength of its aura was much stronger than that of the giant tiger from before. They were demonic beasts of the early 6th level of the martial ancestor realm. Lu Ming remained calm and continued to stab with his spear. Bang! Bang! The snakes exploded in the air. The demonic beasts of the 6th level of the martial ancestor realm were no match for Lu Ming. They could not stop Lu Ming at all. Lu Ming swept down with an unstoppable force. His points also skyrocketed. Soon, it exceeded 500 points. It continued to rise. 600 points, 700 points. After Lu Ming killed the 20 demonic beasts of the peak 6th level of the martial ancestor realm, Lu Ming's points reached 720. At that moment, the surroundings changed again. It turned into a huge mountain surrounded by rocks. Suddenly, the rocks in the surroundings changed and turned into giant stone golems that were 3 meters tall. There were a total of 20 golems. Dong, dong. Each golem had a cultivation of the early 7th level of the martial ancestor realm. They each held a mace made of rocks in their hands and charged toward Lu Ming with a thunderous roar. The mace smashed down. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on Lu Ming. It was as powerful as a mountain. Lu Ming stomped his foot, and his body shot forward like a cannonball. The power of wind and fire merged on his spear as he lashed out. Bang! One of the golems was struck by the spear and exploded into pieces, sending debris flying everywhere. Instantly, Lu Ming's points increased by 9. Chapter 365. Swoosh, swoosh. The long spear continued to stab out, and the stone golems exploded one by one. Soon, the 20 stone golems were all defeated by Lu Ming. Next, the stone golems at the middle stage of Martial Ancestor Realm 7 were unable to stop Lu Ming. He swept all the way. When the 20 stone golems at the later stage of Martial Ancestor Realm 7 were defeated, Lu Ming's points had surpassed Yang Liuji's. Outside the array, Yang Liuji stared fixedly at the stone tablet, gnashing his teeth in anger. Lu Ming! Yang Liuji bellowed. Although he was mentally prepared, he was still unhappy that Lu Ming had surpassed him. However, the others did not pay much attention to Lu Ming because the top 10 on the Emperor Yun board were increasing their points as fast as Lu Ming's. Boom! Boom! In the 10,000 illusion killing array, Lu Ming defeated the last 2 stone golems at the peak of Martial Ancestor Realm 7. At that point, Lu Ming's points had reached 1,560. At that moment, the surrounding scenery changed again. Lu Ming realized that he had appeared in a huge canyon. In the canyon, the wind was howling and it tore the earth apart. Swoosh, swoosh. In the wind, there were sounds of something breaking the air. In the next moment, rays of saber radiance slashed toward Lu Ming. They were as fast as lightning, and in the blink of an eye, they were in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed, and his body shook slightly. His body was like a flickering shadow, and he flew back dozens of meters. Buzz! The long spear shook and swept out. A figure was sent flying. At that moment, Lu Ming saw that it was a figure wrapped in a black robe. The 10,000 illusion killing array would not only gather demonic beasts, but also martial artists. Swoosh! Rays of saber radiance slashed toward Lu Ming from behind. Clang! Clang! Lu Ming waved his long spear and blocked a few of the sabers. The black-robed men were all at the early stage of martial ancestor realmate. Wind force. Lu Ming used the power of wind and began to sense the black-robed person's trajectory. Although the black-robed person's speed was fast, under Lu Ming's wind momentum, he still had nowhere to hide. Found you! Lu Ming's eyes suddenly flashed as he instantly thrust out his spear a dozen times. Puff! Puff! 5 or 6 black-robed men were pierced by Lu Ming in succession, turning into energy and dissipating. With Lu Ming's current combat strength, martial artists in the early stage of the martial arts grandmaster realm were no match for him. After he found their tracks, Lu Ming killed them one by one. Soon, the 20 black-robed men in the early stage of the martial arts grandmaster realm were all killed. In the next moment, 20 middle-stage martial arts grandmaster realm black-robed men appeared. The speed of these 20 black-robed men was even faster. In the fierce wind, their speed was like lightning. Even when Lu Ming unleashed the power of wind, it was also hard to capture the trajectory. Force. These black-robed men have actually mastered the force of wind. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with astonishment. Amazing, this is really amazing. This is only a large formation, but the martial artists inside have actually mastered the force of wind. Lu Ming was amazed. This force of wind is different from what I have comprehended. Yes, the force of wind can be like this. Why didn't I think of it before? For a moment, Lu Ming was not in a hurry to kill the black-robed men. Instead, he blocked them while comprehending the force of wind. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, if he unleashed all his strength and unleashed the 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps, he would definitely be able to surpass 4 small realms and fight with a martial artist in the peak of the martial arts grandmaster realm. He might even be able to win. If he unleashed all his strength, it would not be impossible for him to break through this stage. However, Lu Ming was not in a hurry now. Outside the 10,000 illusion killing formation, everyone stared at the stone tablet. In the beginning, Lu Ming did not attract too much attention. However, when Lu Ming passed the stage of the martial arts grandmaster realm and reached 1,560 points, he attracted a lot of attention. This was a hurdle. Those who could pass this hurdle would be considered top geniuses on the Emperor Yun leaderboard and would definitely be ranked in the top 20. Lu Ming is so powerful that he has accumulated 1,560 points. Next, he will be facing a martial artist in the early stage of the martial arts grandmaster realm. I wonder how far Lu Ming can go. Many people were discussing. Yang Liuji could not help but gnash his teeth when he heard the discussion. I didn't expect Lu Ming to be quite powerful. Yan Feishuan muttered. He is quite capable, but he still has to die. Blue Cloud snorted. Lu Ming, I did not expect your strength to have reached this stage. It seems that I must find a chance to kill you in the selection of the Imperial Sky Divine Guards. Qiu Weiyang's eyes shone with a cold light. However, not long after, their faces changed. Lu Ming's points continued to rise at an extremely fast speed. He was not any slower than Shangguan Yanchen and the other top 10 geniuses on the Emperor Yun leaderboard. It's still rising. Lu Ming's points are still rising. He is too powerful. Will Lu Ming make it to the top 10? I did not expect Lu Ming's combat strength to be so terrifying. When he defeated Yang Liuji, I guess he did not use much of his strength. Oh my God. Look, Xian Yanqing's points are not bad either. They are all from the Burning Sun Empire, including Qiu Changkong. The small Burning Sun Empire has 3 terrifying geniuses. Unbelievable. Everyone was exclaiming. Very soon, Lu Ming's points soared to 1,820. This meant that Lu Ming had already killed all 20 martial artists in the early stage of the 8th Martial Arts Grandmaster realm. Next, Lu Ming will face 20 middle stage martial arts Grandmaster realm martial artists. As long as he can pass this stage, there is a high chance that he will make it to the top 10. If he can pass the next stage, he will surpass Qiu Changkong and make it to the top 10. I'm looking forward to it. Wait, did you notice that Lu Ming's points have stopped rising? Yes, could it be that he has reached his limit? Most likely. I guess he is at the end of his rope. He must be trying his best to defend himself. That is why his points have stopped rising. Phew, Qiu Changkong, Yan Feishuan, and the others heaved a sigh of relief. Qiu Changkong was especially nervous when he saw Lu Ming's points surging. He was afraid that Lu Ming would surpass him. With his pride, he would not be able to accept that Lu Ming surpassed him. Luckily, Lu Ming's points had stopped rising. Ho ho, Lu Ming, is this your limit? How disappointing. Qiu Changkong whispered with a smile on his face. At the same time, Blue Cloud and the others sneered. Lu Ming was not a threat to them. Look, Xian Yanqing's points have slowed down. That's right. It seems that Xian Yanqing's combat strength is slightly higher than Lu Ming's. However, he is not as strong as the top 10 geniuses on the Emperor Yun leaderboard. Some people discussed with each other and expressed their opinions. This was because the top 10 geniuses on the Emperor Yun leaderboard were still increasing their points. Soon, 3 of the top 10 geniuses on the Emperor Yun leaderboard surpassed Qiu Changkong and pushed him to the 9th place. As for Yan Feishuan, he dropped to the 10th place. Damn it! Chapter 366. Time passed by slowly. Soon, the half-hour limit was up. The light screen shook, and Xian Yanqing appeared. Lu Ming's points were still stagnant, but he did not appear. He can still hold on. However, this is the preliminaries. What's the point of holding on? Qiu Changkong sneered. However, in the next moment, his eyes popped out and he opened his mouth so wide that he could swallow a dead mouse. On the first stone tablet, Lu Ming's score, which had remained stagnant, suddenly soared again at a terrifying speed. Everyone else's expression was similar to Qiu Changkong's. All of them were dumbfounded. How is this possible? How is this possible? Why is Lu Ming's points shooting up? Did he hide his strength? That's impossible. Everyone was discussing, and even Jian Fengyan was stunned. Lu Ming's points exceeded 2,000 in an instant. Subsequently, it was 2,100, 2,200, and he surpassed Qiu Changkong in one fell swoop. When Lu Ming's points reached more than 2,400, the screen vibrated, and he flew out. Shangguan Yunyan and the other geniuses in the top 10 of the Emperor Yun leaderboard flew out together with him. Oh my God, why is there no more time? After coming out, Lu Ming kept mumbling to himself. He was speechless. Previously, when he saw the black-robed men, he began to comprehend the force of wind. His force of wind had already reached the limit of minor accomplishment. After comprehending it, his force of wind broke through and reached the great accomplishment. When the force of wind and force of fire merged with each other, their power skyrocketed. Previously, the force of wind and force of fire were not balanced. Although their power was great after merging, it had not reached its maximum. Now, when the two forces were balanced, Their power was truly terrifying. It had completely surpassed the power of a single force of perfection. Lu Ming merged the two forces into his long spear. With a sweep of his long spear, the black-robed men in the middle stage of the martial ancestor realm collapsed. In just a few breaths' time, the 20 black-robed men in the middle stage of the martial ancestor realm were all defeated. Next, there were 20 black-robed men at the late stage of the martial arts grandmaster realm. However, they were unable to withstand Lu Ming's attack and were all killed within a short period of time. Just as Lu Ming was about to fight with the 20 black-robed men at the peak of the martial arts grandmaster realm, the space suddenly trembled and teleported him out. Lu Ming immediately knew that time was up. "Forget it. This score shouldn't be too bad," Lu Ming mumbled. "Brother Lu, congratulations." At this time, Feng Wuji and Ling Yanxi walked over and clasped their fists. However, the two of them looked helpless and bitter. Lu Ming knew that the two of them definitely did not pass and did not reach 500 points. Lu Ming had already guessed this, but he didn't say anything. At this moment, light flashed on the second stone tablet, and the rankings changed. There were no changes to the top three. It was still Jian Fengyun, young Master Tianxi, and Jiang Hongwen. There was a change in the fourth place. It was Shangguan Yunyan. It was still Blue Cloud, who was in the fifth place. There were no changes to the top 7 on the Emperor Yun board. However, there was a change in the 8th place. It was Lu Ming. Qiu Changkong dropped to the 10th place. Yan Feishuan dropped to the 11th place, and out of the top 10. Damn it! Yan Feishuan was so angry that his body trembled. Before this competition, he was still confident and wanted to move up a few ranks. However, not only did he not move up, but he had also dropped back a few ranks. It's all Lu Ming's fault. Yan Feishuan blamed everything on Lu Ming. If Lu Ming hadn't made it to the 8th place, he wouldn't have dropped out of the top 10. Although there was only a difference of 1 rank between the 11th place and the top 10, they were on 2 completely different levels. On the other hand, Qiu Changkong's eyes were filled with killing intent. He couldn't accept that Lu Ming had surpassed him. They were both from the Burning Sun Empire. From now on, the top genius of the Burning Sun Empire was Lu Ming, not him. Kill, kill, kill. Qiu Changkong roared in his heart. Lu Ming seemed to have felt Qiu Changkong's murderous intent. He looked at Qiu Changkong and sneered. "Little Kong, I'm sorry. I accidentally overtook you. Now you're number 2 in the Blazing Sun Empire." "Lu Ming, you—" Qiu Changkong roared, and his eyes turned red. What did Lu Ming just call him? Little Kong? What did he mean by accidentally surpassed him? Did he become the second? Every word was infuriating. Qiu Changkong felt that his heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys were aching. Lu Ming, the 1,000 illusion killing array, has a high score, but it doesn't mean that you can win in a real life and death battle. After a while, Qiu Changkong took a deep breath to calm himself down and said coldly, "Oh, is that so? Then let's have a real life and death battle." Lu Ming stared at Qiu Changkong with murderous eyes. Qiu Changkong was someone he had to kill. It would be great if he could take this opportunity to kill him. However, Qiu Changkong's eyes flickered, and he did not agree. He snorted and walked to the side. He had no chance of winning now. He had no confidence in Lu Ming's combat strength. "So you don't dare. What a coward!" Lu Ming curled his lips. Qiu Changkong staggered, and his eyes turned red again. He was so angry that he almost exploded. He wanted to turn around and chop Lu Ming into pieces. However, his rationality told him that he had to endure it. "Lu Ming, sooner or later, I will make sure you die without a burial ground." Qiu Changkong roared in his heart. The test was still going on, and there was only one group left. However, there were no outstanding geniuses in this group, and no one was interested. Soon, half an hour had passed, and the last group had finished. The candidates for this round of preliminaries had all been announced. A total of 98 people had passed the preliminaries and obtained the right to participate in the selection of the Empyrean Divine Guards. More than 600 people had come, and only 98 people had passed. The probability was not low. Don't forget that these people were all geniuses on the same level as the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe. All right, 98 of you have passed the preliminaries and obtained the right to participate in the selection of the Empyrean Divine Guards. The selection of the Empyrean Divine Guards will be held in Myriad Star City 3 months later. You just have to rush to Myriad Star City within 3 months. Lu Xiu announced. Myriad Star City? Many people were stunned. Obviously, they had not heard of it before. Myriad Star City is a branch of the Empyrean Divine Palace in the east of Tianxian Domain. You just have to rush to Myriad Star City and gather at the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. I will wait for you there. This is the map to Myriad Star City. Lu Xiu gave a brief introduction and then took out a stack of maps and gave one to each person. All right, follow me out now. You can make your own arrangements for the next 3 months. Lu Xiu said. After that, everyone followed Lu Xiu out of the Myriad Illusion Valley. Then, they went their separate ways. Lu Ming, you have surpassed me this time. Next time, I will definitely surpass you. On the way back, Xian Yanqing gritted her teeth and said to Lu Ming. This time, Xian Yanqing was ranked 15th, behind Lu Ming. She was still brooding over this. Chapter 367. By the side, Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi were blushing. They looked like they wanted to laugh, but were too embarrassed to do so. Xiaoqing, we are already an old couple. Don't be like this. Brother Feng and Brother Ling will laugh at us. Lu Ming leaned close to Xia Nianqing's ear and whispered, Who is an old couple with you? Don't spout nonsense. Xia Nianqing's pretty face turned red. She gave Lu Ming a few hard glances. We have already looked at each other and touched each other. We are not an old couple. Do you really want me to do you? Lu Ming touched his chin and muttered, Lu Ming. There was a sharp scream. It was so piercing that Lu Ming's eardrums were buzzing. Xia Nianqing gritted her teeth. If not for Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi, she would have pounced on Lu Ming and bit him. Gentle, gentle. Girls have to be gentle. Understand? Don't let Brother Feng and Brother Ling laugh at us. Lu Ming had his hands behind his back and said with a naughty smile, By the side. Ah, Brother Ling, the starry sky is so beautiful today. The moon is so big and glaring. Ha! Brother Feng is right. It was broad daylight, and the sun was shining brightly. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi looked up at the sky and lied through their teeth. They pretended not to see Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. The few of them bickered all the way back to the inn. News about the test spread like wildfire in the capital of the Cloud Wilderness Empire. Jian Fengyun was powerful and invincible. Naturally, it attracted many people's attention. Besides, Lu Ming, Qiu Changkong, and Xian Yanqing were also mentioned repeatedly. The 3 of them came from the same empire, the Blazing Sun Empire. It was a small country. There were so many terrifying geniuses in the Blazing Sun Empire. 2 of them even made it to the top 10. This was more terrifying than many intermediate empires. The Bloody Zhao Empire did not have anyone in the top 10. 2 days later, on a mountain peak, Qiu Changkong kowtowed to an old man. Master, why are you here? Qiu Changkong said respectfully. This old man was the one who had accepted Qiu Changkong as his in-name disciple. He was a major character of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's eastern branch in the Tianxian region. Changkong, although you were previously ranked 36th on the Emperor Cloud leaderboard, you are proud and arrogant. You have never taken the other geniuses on the Emperor Cloud leaderboard seriously. Through this preliminaries, you should have realized that there is always someone better than you, right? Moreover, this is only the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. The Cloud Emperor Mountain Range is a small place. The geniuses here cannot be compared to those in other regions. It will be very difficult for you to successfully join the Tian Divine Guards. The old man sighed. Master, please give me some pointers. Qiu Changkong said respectfully. This time, I'm here to bring you to the 100 Gods Slope to cultivate. I've obtained this quota with great difficulty. You must cherish it. The old man said. 100 Gods Slope. Hearing this, Qiu Changkong was elated. The 100 Gods Slope was an extremely famous cultivation ground in the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. He had heard of this name long ago, but he was not qualified to enter. This time, his master had actually obtained such a precious spot for him. Changkong thanks master. I'm willing to go through fire and water for master. Qiu Changkong bowed again. Let's go. The old man waved his hand. In an instant, the two of them disappeared without a trace. In an inn in the imperial capital of the Cloud Wilderness Empire. Xiao Qing, you're leaving? Where are you going? Lu Ming asked. Just a moment ago, Xian Yanqing had bid farewell to him. Of course, I'm going to find a place to cultivate in seclusion. Fortunately, I'll surpass you in 3 months. All right, I'll see you in Myriad Star City 3 months later. After speaking, Xian Yanqing sized up Lu Ming before turning around and disappearing in an instant. Looking at the direction where Xian Yanqing disappeared, Lu Ming somehow felt reluctant to part with her. Xiao Qing, what level can you reach in 3 months? Lu Ming muttered. Xian Yanqing's identity had always been mysterious. Lu Ming still didn't know where she came from. Her sister, Xian Yanjuan, was also a natural king. Her talent was terrifyingly high. Lu Ming had a feeling that when he saw Xian Yanqing again in 3 months, her cultivation would have a huge improvement. It seems like I have to work harder too. Otherwise, she might really surpass me. Lu Ming smiled. After a while, Lu Ming looked at Feng Wuji and Ling Yanxi. Brother Feng, Brother Ling, what are your plans next? Lu Ming asked. We plan to return to the Blazing Sun Empire. Brother Lu, what about you? Feng Wuji asked. I plan to set off for the Myriad Star City. I'll cultivate along the way. Lu Ming said. He had already looked at the map. The Myriad Star City was too far away from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, it would take him a month to fly there at full speed. Therefore, Lu Ming decided to cultivate along the way. He treated this journey as a form of training. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi nodded. Brother Feng, please tell my parents that I'm safe when you return. Lu Ming said. Don't worry, I'll definitely tell them. Feng Wuji nodded. Then, Feng Wuji, Ling Yanqi, and Lu Ming left for the Blazing Sun Empire. All of a sudden, Lu Ming was left alone. It's time for me to leave too. Lu Ming smiled and left the capital of the Cloud Wilderness Empire. He soared into the sky and flew toward the west, disappearing into the horizon in an instant. The Cloud Emperor Mountain Range was located in the easternmost part of the Tianxian domain. It was extremely far away from the Myriad Star City, and there were many regions along the way. Previously, when he was traveling from the Scorching Sun Empire to the capital of the Cloud Wilderness Empire, Lu Ming did not unleash his full speed because of Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi. Now that he was alone, he unleashed his full speed, and his speed was astonishing. Countless mountains, rivers and plateaus flashed under Lu Ming's feet. In just 3 days, Lu Ming had left the Cloud Emperor mountain range and entered another region, Qianjiang Water Region. The Qianjiang Water Region was a region close to the Cloud Emperor mountain range. It was several times bigger than the Cloud Emperor mountain range. It was extremely vast, and there were hundreds of empires with countless people. Among them, the strongest empire was the Qianjiang Empire. It was a high-level empire and was extremely powerful. Jian Fengyun had trained in the Qianjiang Water Region. The terrain of the Qianjiang Water Region was completely different from the Cloud Emperor mountain range. The Cloud Emperor mountain range had many large peaks and steep terrain. As for the Thousand Rivers Water Region, the terrain was flat and the rivers flowed rapidly. On the vast land, there were countless large rivers. Lu Ming was above a large river, and he was dumbfounded. The reason for that was because the river was simply too wide. Looking down from 10,000 meters above, the river was at least 100 miles wide. If it were not for Lu Ming's amazing eyesight, he would not have been able to see the end. As for the length, it was impossible to estimate. On the river, there were many large ships sailing on the water. It is indeed unique. Looking at the endless river, Lu Ming felt his mind open, and he was in a good mood. Chapter 368. Whoosh whoosh, the vortex in his dantian started to spin at an even faster speed. The spiritual qi from all directions started to gather towards Lu Ming. After a while, Lu Ming's body trembled slightly, and a sound similar to that of a surging river could be heard from his body. An aura that was twice as strong as before burst out. However, in the next moment, it quickly subsided. Early 5th martial ancestor realm. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the peak of 4th martial ancestor realm a few months ago. In the past few months, he had been polishing his genuine qi and solidifying his foundation. He had already reached the perfect realm. Just now, when his mind was relaxed and his mind was at ease, his cultivation naturally broke through without any hindrance or difficulty. Now, with my strength, where do I rank on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard? A faint smile appeared on Lu Ming's face. With a flash of his figure, Lu Ming flew forward at high speed along the river. Look, it's a martial ancestor. In the river, there were shadows of sails. When the people on the boats saw Lu Ming, they shouted loudly. A martial ancestor realm expert, even in the Qianjiang Water Region, was a high and mighty figure. What a young martial ancestor. I want to be like him. Some teenagers looked enviously at Lu Ming, who was in the sky. These people did not attract Lu Ming's attention. He sped up, and the boundless river passed under his feet. The river was endless. Lu Ming had already flown along the river for 100,000 miles, but he still had not reached the end. Along the way, there were countless tributaries. Countless people had built empires near the river. Lu Ming guessed that the river was one of the main rivers in the Qianjiang Water Region. It was said that the Qianjiang Water Region had as many as 18 main rivers and countless tributaries. Splash, splash. At that moment, there was a violent tumbling sound from the river below, and water splashed everywhere. The waves rolled, and Lu Ming saw countless fish in the waves. There were all kinds of fish jumping around. Some of the fish were dozens of meters long and extremely large. They exuded a powerful aura. They were clearly some fish-type demonic beasts. These fish-type demonic beasts were actually swimming side by side towards the front of the river. Lu Ming was very curious and followed these fish-type demonic beasts. The further they went, the more surprised Lu Ming became. This was because there were more and more fish in the river. There were even many prawns, turtles, and other aquatic creatures. They formed a line and swam forward. What's ahead? Why are there so many aquatic creatures here? Lu Ming pondered, his heart filled with curiosity. After traveling for about 1,000 miles, Lu Ming saw a tributary. Although it was called a tributary, it was actually about 100 miles wide. From this branch, a large number of aquatic creatures also swam out and joined the team. Whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ming saw a middle-aged man and woman flying in the air. Just like him, they were following the water tribe. The middle-aged man and woman also saw Lu Ming. Their eyes flashed, but they didn't speak. Lu Ming was even more certain that there was a problem ahead. After traveling for another 10,000 miles, the aquatic creatures in the river were already densely packed. There were also dozens of martial artists in the sky. Those who could fly in the air were all martial Dao grandmasters without exception. It seems that the Dragon Gate is going to appear again. I wonder where it will appear this time. There were a few young people in the sky. One of them whispered. Lu Ming's ears twitched. Naturally, he heard every word. It's hard to say. The Dragon Gate is also known as the Heaven's Gate. It's extremely mysterious. The water area that appears every time is different, and the time is not fixed. It's our opportunity to encounter it this time. We must seize it. Senior Brother Pan is right. It's said that when the Heaven's Gate appears, it will emit an extremely mysterious aura. People in that area will often be able to think more actively, especially their comprehension of force. This time, I must seize the opportunity to break through to greater success in my force of water. Senior Brother, I heard that the Heaven's Gate will spew out all kinds of treasures. Is that true? It's true. Legend has it that the Heaven's Gate is extremely mysterious and connects to an extremely ancient and powerful world. Every time the Heaven's Gate appears, the precious items of that world will spew out. Perhaps these secrets weren't rare in the Thousand Rivers water region. Therefore, when the young people were discussing, they didn't deliberately hide it. Lu Ming heard everything clearly. Dragon Gate. Heaven's Gate. There's actually such a mysterious thing, Lu Ming exclaimed in his heart. He was even more curious and followed them all the way. After about a few thousand miles, the aquatic creatures in the river stopped. There was a huge intersection in front of them. 3 gigantic rivers that were 1,000 miles wide converged, forming an even wider river that flowed into the distance. At the intersection of the 3 rivers, there was a huge vortex. The river water spun like a funnel. The vortex was extremely huge and had a diameter of at least a few hundred miles. At the other 2 rivers, there were also a large number of aquatic creatures and martial artists. There should be about 100 martial artists in total. Rumble! Suddenly, a violent roar came from the vortex. In the river, countless aquatic creatures made different noises. All of them stared at the whirlpool with awe and respect. Ha! Every time the Heaven's Gate appears, it will attract a large number of aquatic creatures. These aquatic creatures are really stupid. They're really thinking of leaping over the Dragon Gate. A burly man laughed. The others also smiled, faintly. Obviously, they weren't surprised. Rumble! At this moment, the sound from the vortex became louder. It seemed that a huge creature was about to emerge from it. Boom! In the next moment, the ground shook violently and something really rushed out from it. It was actually a mountain peak emerged from the vortex. At first, it was the peak of the mountain, then the mountainside. Gradually, the bottom of the mountain was revealed. A huge mountain peak appeared at the intersection of the 3 rivers, causing a large amount of river water to flow to both sides. Buzz! At this moment, the mountain peak shook and a powerful aura spread out from the mountainside. A huge stone gate appeared on the mountainside. The Heaven's Gate, The Heaven's Gate has appeared. Someone shouted. Lu Ming was also shocked. He looked at the mountainside from dozens of miles away. The stone gate was 100 meters tall, and a hazy light spread out. Go up! Someone shouted and flew toward the mountain peak. Lu Ming didn't hesitate. He followed the crowd and flew to the mountain peak. He stopped at the mountainside and then ran toward the stone gate. However, when he was about 1,000 meters away from the stone gate, Lu Ming felt a powerful force acting on his body. This force was no ordinary force. It was a force that was very similar to the force of heaven and earth. However, it was many times more powerful than the force. Is this the power of the great path of heaven and earth? Lu Ming was shocked. He could sense an incomparably mysterious and all-encompassing aura within it. It seemed to contain countless forces and mysteries of heaven and earth. Bang! Chapter 369. Blocking with force. True Qi is useless. Someone shouted. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, all kinds of forces burst out. Wind, fire, metal, wood, mountain, thunder, water, etc. Lu Ming discovered that among these people, most of them had comprehended the water force. It probably had something to do with the environment of the Thousand River domain. Only by blocking with force could one move forward. Some martial arts grandmasters who had not comprehended the force directly knelt when they were 1,000 meters away. Those martial arts grandmasters who had comprehended the entry-level force could walk within 900 meters. Those who had comprehended the force at the early stage of lesser success could walk 800 meters. Those who had comprehended the force at the mid-stage of lesser success could walk 700 meters. Every time one's force was stronger, they could get closer to the gate of heaven. However, Lu Ming stood 1,000 meters away and did not move. He was comprehending carefully. He felt that the last palm of the 3 Tao palms, the heavenly palm, was very similar to the gate of heaven's aura. Heavenly Tao, the great Tao of heaven and earth. I see. After comparing the heavenly palm with the gate of heaven's aura, Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly. He finally figured out a bit of the heaven's path palm. The heavenly palm was said to be infinitely close to a heaven-level martial skill once it was mastered. However, very few people in history could master it as it was too difficult. Lu Ming had been cultivating for a long time, but still could not find a way. At this moment, a door seemed to have opened in front of him. This aura, I have to capture this aura and engrave it in my heart. Then, I will reflect it with the heavenly palm. I believe that I will be able to master the heavenly palm soon. Lu Ming's mind raced as he tried to feel the aura with all his heart. After a while, Lu Ming blocked with force and advanced 100 meters, but he quickly retreated. The heavenly Tao aura in front was more intense, but at the same time, it was more difficult to capture and engrave something. 1,000 meters was the most suitable. While Lu Ming was comprehending carefully, 2 figures continued to move forward at the fastest speed. They were 2 old men, and they were able to reach a distance of 300 meters. Extreme greater success. They are the Min River monsters. Someone recognized the 2 old men and shouted. Obviously, the 2 old men were very famous. Lu Ming took a closer look and discovered that their cultivations had reached the peak 8th layer martial ancestor realm. If I can comprehend it within 300 meters, the effect will be the best. Moreover, when the divine gate spits out treasures later, the closer I am to it, the higher my chances of obtaining it. Some people were extremely envious. Everyone did their best to get closer to the heavenly gate. That way, their gains would be greater. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure came from afar. In an instant, he arrived at the mountain and continued to rush towards the heaven's gate. He was a young man in his 20s. A powerful aura erupted from his body, and his speed was extremely fast. Soon, he was within 300 meters. Who is this person? How could his aura be so powerful? You don't even know Li Qiushui? What? He's Li Qiushui, ranked 78th on the 1,000 River Top 100 list? Someone was shocked. You two old fellows scram. As soon as Li Qiushui stepped within 300 meters, she looked coldly at the Min River monsters. The Min River freaks' faces sank. One of them said, Li Qiushui, what is the meaning of this? What do you mean? I'm asking you to scram. Within 300 meters, I'm the only one left. Li Qiushui sneered. Li Qiushui, isn't your appetite too big? I'm afraid you can't handle it, right? The Min River monsters said in a deep voice. Can't handle it. Just the two of you? You're not worthy. Li Qiushui was domineering. Li Qiushui, you might be a genius, but we brothers aren't afraid of you. The Min River monsters wouldn't give in so easily. If you don't scram, only death awaits you. Li Qiushui's eyes suddenly turned cold. Whoosh! A sword light broke through the air and charged towards the Min River monsters. Do you think we're afraid of you? The Min River monsters roared and used all their strength to resist. Boom, boom. In just 5 to 6 moves, the Min River monsters trembled violently and retreated continuously. On their bodies, there was an additional sword wound that was so deep that their bones could be seen. SSS, gasps could be heard from the audience. The famous Min River monsters were injured in just 5 to 6 moves from Li Qiushui. Wasn't Li Qiushui too powerful? Lu Ming's eyes narrowed, and a trace of seriousness appeared in the depths of his eyes. He could clearly see that Li Qiushui's cultivation was at the peak of the 6th martial grandmaster realm. The Min River monsters were 2 levels higher than him, but they were injured in just 5 to 6 moves. Li Qiushui's ability to fight across levels had already exceeded 2 levels. Generally speaking, it was the limit for those exceptional geniuses in the martial grandmaster realm to fight across 2 levels. Geniuses like the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe and those geniuses at the bottom of the Emperor Yun leaderboard could only fight across 2 levels. Those geniuses at the bottom of the Emperor Yun leaderboard had a much higher cultivation than the other geniuses, which was why they were on the Emperor Yun leaderboard. The top 10 geniuses on the Emperor Yun leaderboard were even more powerful. Not only did they have a higher cultivation, but their ability to fight across levels was also stronger. For example, Blue Cloud Dao and the others had the ability to fight across levels. They were 2 levels above, but not 3. They were between 2 and 3 levels. Lu Ming speculated that Jian Fengyan might be able to fight across 3 levels. Li Qiushui was able to fight across 2 to 3 levels. Lu Ming speculated that his combat strength was no weaker than Blue Cloud Dao and the other geniuses at the top of the Emperor Yun leaderboard. However, Li Qiushui was only ranked 78th on the top 100 list of the Qianjiang Water region. The top 100 list of the Qianjiang Water region had the same meaning as the Emperor Yun leaderboard. It listed the top 100 geniuses in the Qianjiang Water region. Being ranked 78th was already so powerful. Lu Ming had a deeper understanding of the other regions. If you don't get lost, you'll die. Li Qiushui was extremely cold. The Min River monsters' faces were extremely ugly. They gritted their teeth and retreated from the 300-meter area to the 400-meter area. Ha ha! Young Master Li Qiushui is indeed powerful. At that moment, there was a loud laugh. A red-haired man quickly ran toward the heavenly gate, emitting a powerful aura. He didn't stop until he reached the 300-meter area. It's the red-haired water demon, someone exclaimed. Li Qiushui's eyes turned gloomy. He looked at the red-haired water demon and didn't say anything. The red-haired water demon's cultivation had reached the early stage of the martial ancestor realm. He wasn't confident that he could defeat him. The red-haired water demon wasn't afraid of Li Qiushui. He stood in the 300-meter area and looked at the heavenly gate with fiery eyes. At that moment, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Success. He had succeeded in engraving a faint wisp of heaven's path chi. As long as he thought carefully, he would recall the faint heaven's path chi. Although it was faint, it should be enough for him to practice the heaven's path palm. It's time to comprehend the force. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. He then strode forward. He didn't stop. 800 meters, 700 meters, 500 meters, Lu Ming kept walking toward the 300-meter area. Bam! Finally, Lu Ming stepped into the 300-meter area. Chapter 370. Everyone's attention was focused on Lu Ming. Then, there was a heated discussion. Who is he? How can he reach the 300-meter zone? How dare he reach the 300-meter zone? Isn't he afraid that Li Qiushui will kill him? Could he be a genius on the 1,000-river top 100 list? I don't know. I have never seen him before. I have never seen him in the top 100 list during the Imperial Sky Divine Guard preliminaries. He shouldn't be a genius on the 1,000-river top 100 list. Many people whispered to each other and looked at Lu Ming curiously. Li Qiushui's face darkened as he looked coldly at Lu Ming. Brat, this is not a place for you to stay. Get out if you don't want to die, Li Qiushui said coldly. He was already furious that the red-haired water demon had stepped into this zone. Now, another person had come, and he was so young. Ha! You keep asking people to get lost. I want to know if an expert stronger than you comes and asks you to get lost. I wonder what kind of expression you will have. Lu Ming curled his lips and smiled faintly. What if I am the strongest here? That is the truth. Li Qiushui looked coldly at Lu Ming. You are the strongest? You really know how to flatter yourself. Lu Ming sneered. Does that mean you have the confidence to fight with me? I would like to see where you get your confidence from. Clang! As soon as Li Qiushui finished speaking, a sword light that was as white as the Milky Way slashed out from his hand. It was as fast as lightning, like an immortal flying from the heavens. Lu Ming sneered as the demon-banishing spear appeared in his hand. He swayed it and went forward. If Lu Ming had not broken through to the fifth realm of the martial ancestor realm, he might not be a match for Li Qiushui, who was on par with Blue Cloud. But now he wanted to test his combat strength. Boom! The spear radiance and the sword chi clashed, and there was a violent explosion. Both of them retreated as the force spread out. So you do have some strength. Let's see how many strikes you can take. Boundless Autumn Water Sword. Chi, sword chi like the Milky Way of the 9 heavens appeared one after another, slashing towards Lu Ming. Windfire Slaughter. Lu Ming's spear shook, and the power of wind and fire fused together. Spear lights shot out and collided with the sword chi. Intense explosions rang out in the air. All around, the crowd watched in shock. They did not expect that Lu Ming could actually fight Li Qiushui to a draw. There isn't such a person in the 1,000-river top 100 list. Could it be that this person is a hidden genius and did not participate in the preliminaries? It shouldn't be possible. Which young genius wouldn't be tempted by the Empyrean Divine Guard's preliminaries? Putting aside the fact that after becoming an Empyrean Divine Guard, one would be able to cultivate in the Empyrean Divine Palace's branch palace. There would be endless benefits. It's said that there would be great opportunities in the preliminaries as well. Who would miss it? That's true. Could he be a genius from another region? Very likely. While the others were discussing, not far away, the red-haired water demon's expression was also extremely grave, even with his early ninth realm martial ancestor realm cultivation. He did not dare to be careless. Boom, boom. The two of them exchanged dozens of blows, but it was still hard to determine the victor. Take my final move, Autumn Water's River Sword. Li Qiushui roared as a terrifying aura spread out. A river appeared and revolved around him. Lu Ming could see clearly that this river was formed by the convergence of sword auras. Endless sword auras condensed into a river. Kill! Li Qiushui roared as the river rushed towards Lu Ming. This was Li Qiushui's strongest move. It was extremely powerful. There was once an early ninth realm martial ancestor realm martial artist who was severely injured by this move and was almost killed. So powerful. If that brat doesn't have any trump cards, he's finished. The red-haired water demon thought. The other spectators had similar thoughts as well. Their eyes were wide open as they stared fixedly. They wanted to see how Lu Ming was going to counter this move. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness as he suddenly soared into the sky. 9 dragons stomping the heavens. There was a mysterious fluctuation coming from Lu Ming's body as he suddenly took a step forward. There was a faint dragon roar. Boom. Lu Ming's step seemed to carry the might of heaven and earth as a terrifying fluctuation spread out from Lu Ming's feet. Boom. The 9 dragons' heaven ascending steps and Li Qiushui's sword Qi River collided heavily. The heaven and earth shook violently as the force swept out. But for some reason, under the aura of the Heaven's Gate, it only spread out a few meters before dissipating. The force that could destroy a mountain did not cause much of a stir under the Heaven's Gate. Huff, huff, the force dissipated as Li Qiushui retreated a dozen steps while Lu Ming flew backwards. They were evenly matched. The rest of the people looked at Lu Ming in shock. Vaguely, there was a hint of awe in their eyes. Obviously, they had already treated Lu Ming and Li Qiushui as geniuses of the same level. The geniuses of the Thousand River region are indeed powerful. He is only ranked 78th. No wonder Jian Fengyan said that he was injured by a genius ranked 18th in the Thousand River region. Lu Ming thought to himself and was shocked. He did not know that Li Qiushui's heart was in turmoil, as he was extremely shocked. Lu Ming was only at the early stage of martial ancestor Realm 5. It was unbelievable that he could fight him to a standstill. He was a genius who could fight across more than 2 levels. In that case, wouldn't Lu Ming be able to fight across 4 levels? Li Qiushui had never heard of someone who could fight across 4 levels in the martial ancestor realm. Even the monster ranked first in the Thousand River top 100 list might not be able to fight across 4 levels. Where did this genius come from? How can he be so terrifying? Li Qiushui thought quickly as killing intent flickered in his eyes. However, he did not continue to attack. He stood aside and looked at Lu Ming cautiously. Lu Ming did not attack either as he looked at the Heaven's Gate. At that moment, the aura in the Heaven's Gate was getting thicker. There were already people sitting cross-legged as they started to comprehend the aura. This aura contains the Tao of heaven and earth. Let me comprehend the force of wind first. Lu Ming pondered. He then sat cross-legged and started to comprehend the force of wind. Of course, he paid attention to his surroundings. If anyone attacked him, he could retaliate at any time. However, no one attacked him. Li Qiushui's eyes flickered, but he did not attack. He also sat cross-legged and started to comprehend. Brat, when my force breaks through, it will be your death date. Li Qiushui thought viciously. Slowly, the place became silent. Most of the people started to comprehend and cultivate. Not long after, someone was overjoyed. It was obvious that he had gained something. Force of wind. There was wind blowing around Lu Ming's body. It was light and ethereal. Lu Ming successfully found the Tao of wind in the aura of the Heaven's Gate. Suddenly, his comprehension of the wind increased rapidly. Around his body, wisps of green wind were rotating. It was sometimes slow and sometimes fast. Half an hour later, the force of wind around Lu Ming suddenly withdrew and disappeared. Lu Ming opened his eyes, and there was a smile in his eyes. His force of wind had successfully broken through to the great achievement realm. It was at the same level as the force of fire, and the two were in balance. Chapter 371. Continue. Immediately, Lu Ming continued to comprehend the force of wind. He wanted the force of wind to catch up with the force of fire. This way, the combination of the two forces could unleash the strongest power. Under the Heaven Gate, his comprehension of the force of wind could be described as advancing by leaps and bounds. Half an hour later, the force of wind went from the early stage to the middle stage. Another half an hour later, the force of wind broke through to the late stage and was only one step away from the limit of the great accomplishment. Boom! At this moment, there was a rumble not far away. Lu Ming sensed a powerful aura rippling from Li Qiushui's body. That was force. Li Qiushui's force was several times stronger than before. The force of water had reached perfection. Ha ha ha! Li Qiushui stood up and laughed heartily to the sky. An extremely powerful force radiated from his body and filled the entire place, forming a powerful pressure. Those who were in the midst of comprehending were all alarmed and stopped cultivating. Li Qiushui's force has broken through and reached perfection. This is too shocking. This time, his ranking on the 1,000-river top 100 list will increase greatly. Many people were discussing in shock. Force from the great accomplishment to perfection was too difficult. Many geniuses were stuck at this step and were stuck for their entire lives. Perfection represented perfection, and its power was much greater than that of great success. Kid, you didn't leave just now. Now, you don't have the chance. Li Qiushui looked at Lu Ming with cold, killing intent in his eyes. His force had broken through perfection, and his combat power had increased greatly. Now, he was confident that he could be ranked in the top 40 of the 1,000-river top 100 list, or even higher. Killing Lu Ming was a piece of cake. Lu Ming's lips curled into an inexplicable smile as he stood up slowly. He wanted to test the power of the force of wind and fire. The two looked at each other, and their powerful auras clashed, forming a powerful pressure. The red-haired water demon watched from the side with a serious expression. Buzz! At this moment, the Heaven Gate, hundreds of meters away, let out a rumble and shook violently. Rumble! The entire mountain peak shook violently. The Heaven Gate is going to spit out treasures. Someone shouted. Everyone was shocked as they looked at the heavenly gate with burning eyes. Humph, I'll let you off for now. Li Qiushui sneered. He retracted his aura and looked at the Heaven Gate. Let me go? There was a faint smile at the corners of Lu Ming's mouth. Wong. At this moment, the gate of heaven shook again. In the middle of the gate of heaven, it was misty like chaos, and no one could see what was inside. Suddenly, a few figures of light flew out of the gate of heaven. As soon as they left the gate of heaven, they made a violent sound of breaking through the air and flew into the distance. His speed was so fast that he covered a distance of several hundred meters in the blink of an eye. Those are a few broken weapons. Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he clearly saw the true bodies of these figures. These light shadows were actually a few broken weapons. There were 4 of them in total. It was a battle sword, but the tip of the sword was broken. There was only half of a saber. There was also a spear, but the tail had disappeared, leaving only the tip of the spear. The last one was half an iron rod. Whoosh, whoosh. Li Qiushui and the red-haired water demon pounced towards the broken weapons without hesitation. Li Qiushui pounced towards the broken sword, while the red-haired water demon pounced towards the half-saber. Lu Ming didn't stop either as he pounced towards the half-spear. Although the half-spear was fast, Lu Ming was even faster. In an instant, he was close to the half-spear. Wong! Just as Lu Ming extended his palm and was about to grab the spear trembled. A blurry figure rushed out from the spear, and an aura of Bienai under the heavens erupted. This figure was incomparably tall, like a broken shadow. It couldn't be seen clearly at all. One could barely see that he was holding a spear and thrusting it towards Lu Ming. It was terrifyingly powerful. 9 dragons stomping the heavens. Lu Ming didn't hesitate as he took a step forward and clashed with the spear. Bang! There was a violent explosion. Lu Ming felt his feet go numb, and he couldn't help but take 3 steps back. As for that figure, it began to tremble. Then, with a bang, it collapsed and disappeared. Lu Ming's eyes moved. True qi gushed out and wrapped around the half-spear, and he held it in his hand. The spear was pitch black, and it could be seen that it was densely covered with saber and sword marks. It had obviously gone through a fierce battle. At the same time, an ancient and desolate aura spread out from the spear, full of the aura of time. I don't know how long this spear has gone through, but the spear still contains a trace of the spear's owner's inextinguishable fighting spirit. It's really amazing. I wonder what kind of existence the owner of this spear was. Lu Ming looked at the spear and sighed secretly. The half-spear had gone through too much time and had lost its spirituality. However, the material of the spear was extraordinary. Lu Ming couldn't see what material it was made of. He gripped the spear tightly, and there wasn't a trace of a mark on it. After all, it came from the gate of heaven. I'll keep it first. With a move of his hand, he kept the half-spear. In the other direction, the broken saber and the broken sword had all kinds of strange phenomena, but they were all defeated by Li Qiushui and the red-haired water demon. As for the half-iron rod, it flew far away. Under the siege of more than 10 experts, it was finally taken away by a burly man. Buzz. At this moment, the gate of heaven shook again. Swoosh, swoosh. 2 light figures flew out. Lu Ming looked and was surprised. This time, it was actually 2 pieces of dried branches. 2 pieces of black, dried branches. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Without any hesitation, the red-haired water demon, Lu Ming, and Li Qiushui pounced on the 2 pieces of dried branches like lightning. Get lost! Li Qiushui and the red-haired water demon were closer. Li Qiushui shouted coldly, and a dazzling sword light, as white as the Milky Way, cut through the void and slashed at the red-haired water demon. The power of the perfect stage was extremely terrifying. The red-haired water demon shouted angrily and did not dare to take it head-on. He quickly retreated. Li Qiushui reached out and grabbed the dried branch in his hand. On the other side, the red-haired water demon retreated and missed the time. Lu Ming also grabbed the other dried branch in his hand. This dried branch was black as if it had been burnt. It did not have the slightest vitality, as if it was really a dried branch. But considering the wonders of the gate of heaven, Lu Ming still kept it. Kid, hand over that dried branch. Quick, hand it to me. Li Qiushui's eyes were cold as he looked at Lu Ming and scolded with a commanding tone. Why don't you fucking take a piss and look in the mirror? Do you think you are? Trash, and you want me to hand over the dried branch? You must be dreaming. Lu Ming glanced at Li Qiushui and said coldly. Li Qiushui's face immediately turned green. His eyes were extremely cold and murderous. He said, "Kid, don't think that I can't do anything to you just because we were tied. Now, I'll let you know the power of the perfect stage." Boom. A powerful aura exploded from Li Qiushui's body. Boom. At this moment, the gate of heaven shook again. Another thing spurted out from the stone gate. Chapter 372. Whoosh! The stone egg flew into the distance. "It's mine!" Li Qiushui shouted and pounced towards the stone egg with a flash. "Yours? Are you dreaming?" Lu Ming sneered and pounced towards the stone egg. At the same time, the red-haired water demon's expression changed and pounced towards the stone egg. "Courting death!" Li Qiushui shouted and slashed towards Lu Ming and the red-haired water demon. Boom, boom. There were two booming sounds, and the red-haired water demon retreated backward. However, Lu Ming did not move at all. Li Qiushui's expression changed. "Is this the power of the perfected force? It's just SOL. Get lost." Lu Ming sneered and then shouted. His spear shook, and the great success wind and fire force merged and drew towards Li Qiushui. Boundless autumn water sword. Li Qiushui slashed out, and the perfected force of water erupted. Clang! The spear and the battle sword clashed. Instantly, Li Qiushui's expression changed. Lu Ming's attack was like a hot knife through butter. Li Qiushui's perfected force of water was forced to retreat. How could this be? Li Qiushui let out a roar of disbelief. His eyes were filled with disbelief. His force had already broken through to the perfected stage, and its power had increased by several times. Lu Ming's force was still at the great success stage. How could it be stronger than his? This was too unbelievable, and Li Qiushui could not accept it. Bang! Li Qiushui's body was sent flying, and he retreated dozens of meters. His face was pale. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the stone egg. The moment he grabbed it, Lu Ming's hand trembled slightly, and his expression changed. Heavy! This stone egg was unbelievably heavy. Given Lu Ming's current cultivation level and the strength of his physical body, he could even lift something that weighed 1,000,000 pounds with one hand. But this stone egg could make Lu Ming's hand tremble. Its weight was definitely not less than 1,000,000 gene. A stone egg that was the size of a human had actually weighed 1,000,000 gene. This was simply unbelievable. The stone egg was not round, but oval. It was very similar to an ordinary animal egg. Wait, this is... Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He felt that there was a wisp of life aura in the stone egg. Although this wisp of life aura was extremely weak and could be ignored, it was indeed a wisp of life aura. Could this really be a living creature's egg? It's still alive. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He was shocked. A living creature's egg weighing 1,000,000 gene. What kind of living creature's egg was this egg? Lu Ming's imagination. Die. Die for me. Autumn water sword technique. At this moment, Li Qiushui roared, and a river of sword aura blasted toward Lu Ming. This was Li Qiushui's killer move. It was much stronger than before. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. He moved his hands, wanting to keep the stone egg in his storage ring. With no time to think, Lu Ming took a step forward with the stone egg in his hand. 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps. The 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps had merged the power of wind and fire. This was Lu Ming's strongest killing move. Bam! Lu Ming crushed Li Qiushui's river of sword aura with a single step. The immense force did not stop there and blasted on Li Qiushui's body. Crack, crack, the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Li Qiushui let out a blood-curdling scream as blood spurted from his mouth. His body flew out a few thousand meters like a cannonball. Brat, don't let me meet you in the Divine Guard selection. Otherwise, I will make sure you die a horrible death. A furious roar, filled with killing intent, could be heard from afar. The voice was getting further and further away. Li Qiushui took this opportunity to escape. Lu Ming's eyes flashed, but he did not give chase. Li Qiushui's combat strength was not much weaker than his. Although he was injured, it was not fatal. Now that he was running for his life, it would not be easy for Lu Ming to catch up to him. The others were dumbfounded. They were all guessing which region Lu Ming was from for him to be so powerful. Li Qiushui's power had reached the great perfection stage. He would definitely be in the top 40 of the Qianjiang Water Region's top 100 list. With such combat strength, he was actually kicked by Lu Ming to the point where he vomited blood and fled for his life. Some of the elders sighed. It was really a case of the new generation replacing the old. Buzz. At this moment, the heavenly gate continued to tremble. However, to Lu Ming's disappointment, nothing was spurting out anymore. After a while, nothing was spurting out anymore. Many people were also disappointed. Most of them came here this time. Other than using the aura of the heavenly gate to comprehend their power, they did not gain anything else. They looked at Lu Ming. This time, it was no doubt that Lu Ming had gained the most. He had obtained a total of 3 things. Half an hour later, the mountain started to tremble violently. The heavenly gate is disappearing. Someone shouted. Everyone flew away from the mountain and stood in the air. Rumble! The mountain shook, and a huge whirlpool formed under the river. The mountain was slowly disappearing. After a while, the mountain and the heavenly gate disappeared completely in the whirlpool. The river regained its calmness. As for the aquatic creatures in the river, they all dived into the water and disappeared. Let's go. Seeing that the heavenly gate had disappeared, many people left. Soon, only Lu Ming was left. This stone egg can't be stored in a storage ring. Looking at the stone egg in his hand, Lu Ming was amazed. Can the Temple of Paragon be stored in it? Lu Ming's eyes flashed. No living creatures could be stored in the Temple of Paragon, except for himself. This stone egg also had the aura of life. He wondered if he could store it in it. With a thought, the stone egg disappeared. It can be stored in it. Lu Ming was overjoyed. If the Temple of Paragon could not be stored in it, Lu Ming was speechless. He could not possibly carry a stone egg that weighed millions of pounds around all day, right? Let's find a place to study it. Lu Ming's figure flashed and disappeared. An hour later, in a quiet place thousands of miles away, Lu Ming sat cross-legged and took out the half of the spear. After studying it carefully, he found that the half of the spear had no other reaction except that it was extremely hard. Lu Ming was a little disappointed. He put away the spear and took out the withered branch. The withered branch was as black as ink, as if it had been burnt. There was no aura of life. However, it had one thing in common with the spear. It was extremely hard. No matter what Lu Ming did, he could not leave a mark on it. It was just a withered branch, but it was so extraordinary. Lu Ming was shocked. He kept it carefully. Perhaps it would be useful in the future. Finally, he took out the stone egg. After sensing it carefully, there was indeed a weak aura of life. It was very faint. If he did not sense it carefully, he would not have noticed it. What on earth was in there? Was it really an egg? Or was there a living creature sealed inside? Lu Ming guessed, letting his imagination run wild. Let's inject true qi and see. Then Lu Ming injected true qi into the stone egg, but there was no effect. Then he took out spiritual herbs and spiritual crystals, refined the essence inside, and injected it into the stone egg. Still, there was no change. Chapter 373. Lu Ming was speechless. He could only give up. I'd better comprehend the heavenly palm. Lu Ming memorized a trace of Heaven's Gate's aura in his mind and used it to corroborate with the heavenly palm to comprehend the heavenly palm. This cultivation was indeed very effective. Lu Ming's comprehension of the heavenly palm deepened greatly. Although it was impossible to cultivate it successfully in a short period of time, as long as he persevered, Lu Ming believed that it would not be long before he succeeded. A few hours later, Lu Ming continued to move and rushed towards the Myriad Star City according to the map. A few days later, Lu Ming left the Thousand River region and came to another region. This region was called the Eight Desolation Swamp region. The Eight Desolation Swamp region, as its name suggested, was filled with swamps of various sizes. The small ones were like ponds, while the large ones spanned tens of thousands of miles or even hundreds of thousands of miles. In the swamps, there were all kinds of creatures, most of which were poisonous. Similarly, in the Eight Desolation Swamp region, there were also martial artists who established kingdoms. Most of them cultivated poisonous techniques, and their overall strength was even stronger than the Thousand River region. Lu Ming flew in the air, secretly amazed by the wonders of nature. Just like that, Lu Ming hurried along. When he was tired or felt something, he would stop to cultivate. Sometimes he comprehended the heavenly palm, sometimes he comprehended the force of wind and fire, and sometimes he comprehended the second step of the 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps. Therefore, his speed was not very fast. A journey that would have taken a month took him more than 2 months, almost 3 months. When he arrived at the Myriad Star City, there were still 5 days before the selection of the Empyrean Divine Guards. Along the way, his comprehension of the heavenly palm deepened day by day, and he was not far from succeeding. In addition, the force of wind had also broken through and reached the limit of greater mastery. It was on par with the force of fire, but it was still very difficult to break through to perfection. The slowest progress was the 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps. He still had not succeeded in cultivating the second step. This is the Myriad Star City. When Lu Ming stood at the foot of an incomparably huge mountain and looked up at the sky, he was extremely shocked. What appeared in front of him was an incomparably huge mountain that occupied at least a few hundred miles. This mountain was different from an ordinary mountain. The base of a normal mountain peak was the widest. The higher one went, the narrower the peak would be. However, the mountain peak was like a stone stick. The foot of the mountain, the middle of the mountain, and the peak were all the same width. It towered straight into the sky, reaching a height of 10,000 meters, and disappeared into the clouds. And the Myriad Star City was built on this mountain peak. However, this was not what shocked Lu Ming. What shocked Lu Ming was the size of Myriad Star City. The area of the Myriad Star City was more than 10 times larger than the area of this mountain. This mountain was only a small part of the middle of the Myriad Star City. Most of the area of the Myriad Star City was suspended in the air, which was thousands of miles wide. The mountain peak and the Myriad Star City were like an umbrella. The mountain peak was the pole, and the Myriad Star City was the umbrella. The Myriad Star City, which was thousands of miles long and wide, covered the sky and the sun, casting a large shadow on the ground. Lu Ming's eyes were sharp. He discovered that on top of the steep mountain there were many suspension bridges. Those were for people below the martial ancestor realm to get on and off. Wuzongs could directly fly in. Lu Ming soared into the air and flew towards the Myriad Star City. The closer he got to the Myriad Star City, the more he felt the majesty of the city. The surrounding city walls, which were thousands of meters tall, were pitch black. Densely packed inscriptions were carved on them. There were no soldiers guarding the city walls. However, there was an incomparably horrifying aura spreading out. It was only one side of the city walls, but Lu Ming could already feel hundreds of powerful auras. These auras were so strong that each one was not weaker than the overlords of the Blazing Sun Empire, like Yan Quan and Lin Shui, half-step kings. These auras were actually all half-step kings. Among them, there were a few auras that were as deep and unfathomable as the ocean. They were majestic, many times stronger than half-step kings. Lu Ming only sensed a little, and he felt a horrifying pressure that made it difficult for him to breathe. King-level aura. These are definitely peerless martial king experts. Lu Ming was astonished. At the same time, he was also astonished. The myriad star city was indeed worthy of being the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's branch in the eastern part of the Tianxian region. Its strength was simply too strong. It was said that the entire myriad star city was built by the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's peerless experts. This was only one side of the city wall. Compared to the entire myriad star city, it was nothing. However, it was already so horrifying. This is the stage for experts. The Blazing Sun Empire is too small. Lu Ming took a deep breath. His eyes sparkled, filled with battle intent. Then, he flew toward one of the gates of the myriad star city. There was no one guarding the gate. There was only an inscription array platform. If one wanted to enter the myriad star city, they had to pass through the array platform. If an enemy of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace entered, the array platform would sense it. There were many people coming and going at the gate. It was very lively. Of course, those who could enter and leave were all martial masters. After entering the gate, Xiaochen arrived at an extremely wide street. The street was 100 meters wide. There were all kinds of rare beasts and martial masters on the street. Most of them were young people. A portion of them were middle-aged, and some were old men and women. As the selection of the Emperor Heaven Divine Guards approached, the geniuses and experts from all over the eastern part of the Tianxian region gathered. Naturally, there were more people. Experts, they were all experts. Lu Ming casually sensed and realized that the people on the street were all experts. Many of the middle-aged and old men were at least in the 8th or 9th stage of the martial ancestor realm. There were even many half-step kings. Half-step kings were the overlords of the Blazing Sun Empire. They were unparalleled. In the intermediate empires, half-step kings were also the overlords. However, they were no longer the strongest. Intermediate empires had kings. In the advanced empires, half-step kings were nothing. They were only peak experts. In a place like the Myriad Star City, half-step kings were only ordinary experts. Only kings were the true experts. As for the young men and women on the street, they were all dragons and phoenixes. They were in high spirits and full of confidence. Every one of them had a powerful aura. Even the weakest one was stronger than Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi. These were all geniuses from all over the eastern part of the Tianxian region. Those who could come here were all geniuses who had passed the preliminaries. None of them were weak. Lu Ming looked left and right, sizing up his surroundings. Soon after, he found a shop and asked the shopkeeper about the location of the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Unexpectedly, the shopkeeper thought for a long time before remembering the location of the Cloud Emperor mountain range. The reason was that the Cloud Emperor mountain range was too small. Therefore, he didn't have a deep impression of it. Lu Ming followed the shopkeeper's directions and spent more than an hour to find the Cloud Emperor mountain range's courtyard. Every region in the Myriad Star City had a courtyard. It was managed by the elder of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace in that region. It was convenient for the geniuses of that region to gather. The courtyard was quite big, enough for thousands of people to live in. Lu Ming walked into the courtyard and registered. Naturally, someone led him to his room. Chapter 374. In the courtyard, Lu Ming realized that a portion of the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range's geniuses had already arrived. For example, Su Yingying, Wang Kai, and the others. On top of that, Lu Ming also saw Yang Liuji, Yan Feishuan, Blue Cloud, and the others. When they saw Lu Ming, their eyes flashed with killing intent. Lu Ming smiled coldly. If he had the chance, Lu Ming wouldn't mind killing them all. However, Jian Fengyun, Prince Tianxi, Qiu Changkong, and the others were nowhere to be seen. After taking a look around, Lu Ming returned to his room and continued to cultivate. A few 100,000 li away from the myriad star city, there was a cultivation sacred ground called the 100 Deities Slope. At this moment, Qiu Changkong walked out from the 100 Deities Slope with messy hair. His aura was several times stronger than before. Lu Ming, let's see how you're going to die this time. Qiu Changkong said in a cold voice, his eyes flashing with killing intent. Also, Jian Fengyun of the Cloud Emperor leaderboard, it's time to give up the first place. Qiu Changkong had been cultivating at the 100 Deities Slope for a few months, and his cultivation had improved greatly. Even his force had broken through to the Great Circle. Whoosh! An old man suddenly appeared beside Qiu Changkong. Master, Qiu Changkong immediately bowed, respectfully. Changkong, although your cultivation is good, you're still not considered top-notch among the geniuses in the Tianxian region. There are still many uncertainties in joining the Empyrean Divine Guards. The old man said, there are so many geniuses in the Tianxian region. Qiu Changkong asked in disbelief. With his current cultivation and battle strength, he wasn't even considered top-notch. The Tianxian region's east is vast, and your generation is considered a golden age. Geniuses are popping up like bamboo shoots after a rain. It's hard to stand out. The old man sighed and said, however, don't be discouraged. Your talent can be considered top-notch in the entire eastern region of the Tianxian region. Some people are stronger than you only because they have more resources than you and their cultivation is deeper than you. You won't be weaker than them in a battle of the same level. As long as your cultivation is higher, you might be able to compete with them. The location of the trial is most likely the Dongming ancient battlefield. I know of a secret place in the Dongming ancient battlefield that contains great fortunate encounters. If you are able to find the fortunate encounter there, your cultivation will improve tremendously, and it's not impossible for you to become one of the top geniuses of the eastern region of the Tianxian region. After saying that, a jade talisman appeared in the elder's hand. He passed it to Qiu Changkong and said, the information about that secret place is in this jade talisman. Take it and have a look. Changkong thanks Master. Qiu Changkong was overjoyed. He took the jade talisman and knelt on the ground respectfully, kowtowing to the elder to thank him. Go on. Show off your abilities in the selection of the Di Tian Divine Guards. The old man said with a smile. Yes. Qiu Changkong expressed his gratitude. He then moved and headed towards the Myriad Star City. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. The Cloud Emperor's courtyard was bustling with activity. Almost all the geniuses who had passed the preliminaries had arrived. Jian Fengyun, Prince Tianxi, Qiu Changkong, and the others had all shown up. However, Xian Yinqing had yet to arrive. This made Lu Ming a little worried. Previously, Xian Yinqing had said that he would find a place to cultivate in seclusion and would rush over to the Myriad Star City. There were still 2 days before the start of the selection, and Xian Yinqing had yet to arrive. Could he have been delayed by something? Although Lu Ming was worried, there was nothing he could do but wait. On this day, the leader of the Cloud Emperor mountain range, old Lu Xiu, gathered everyone together and announced some matters regarding the selection. The selection would be held in an ancient battlefield. This ancient battlefield was called the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. It was considered a plain and was a secret place under the control of the Ditian Divine Palace. It was filled with dangers and opportunities. There were 3 months of free time inside. In these 3 months, one's overall ability would be tested. This included one's wisdom, courage, combat strength, and opportunities. Opportunities were one's luck. Luck was also one of the most important factors for a martial artist. 3 months later, they would exit from the final exit. There were many checkpoints at the exit to filter out the reserve Ditian Divine Guards and the official Ditian Divine Guards. The Ditian Divine Guards would be selected once every 5 years. The location of the selection was different every time, but it was filled with opportunities and dangers. According to Lu Xiu, the Dongming Ancient Battlefield had not been used for the selection of Ditian Divine Guards for 100 years. He had no idea what would happen inside. After the announcement, Lu Xiu allowed them to move freely and gather in 2 days. In the following time, they went to various bookstores in the Myriad Star City to look for books that recorded the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. They wanted to know more about the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. The more they knew, the more confident they would be. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. However, there was still no sign of Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming felt anxious and worried. Something must have happened to Xian Yanqing. Otherwise, she would have definitely come and missed the selection of Ditian Divine Guards. However, Lu Ming did not know where Xian Yanqing had gone. Otherwise, he could have gone to look for her. Let's not worry about that for now. Xian Yanqing is someone who will not be taken advantage of. She might not be in trouble. Let's finish the selection of Ditian Divine Guards first. Lu Ming pondered. On this day, all the geniuses in the Cloud Emperor mountain range gathered in a courtyard of the Cloud Emperor's residence. Out of the 97 people, only Xian Yanqing was missing. Everyone else had arrived. Lu Xiu glanced around and did not say anything. It was normal for there to be fewer people. All right, I'm sure all of you are clear about the rules of the selection. However, let me reiterate. The 3 months in the Dongming Ancient Battlefield are especially important. The Dongming Ancient Battlefield is an ancient land from the primordial era. It is vast and boundless. It is filled with danger, but it is also filled with opportunities. Some people can soar to the sky in these 3 months. Some people will become stepping stones for others and be killed. According to my experience, it is best for all of you to work together after entering the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. This is the safest way. Take these 10,000 miles sound-transmitting talismans. Each of you will have one. You can communicate with each other in the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. Lu Xiu took out the 10,000 miles sound-transmitting talismans and distributed them to everyone. Thank you, Elder Lu. Everyone thanked Lu Xiu. You don't have to thank me. I only hope that more of you can join the Ditian Divine Guards. The better your results, the more rewards I will receive. Lu Xiu was very direct and spoke his intentions. This made everyone have a better impression of Lu Xiu. All right, let's set off now. The entrance to the Dongming Ancient Battlefield is 100,000 miles north of Myriad Star City. After Lu Xiu finished speaking, he soared into the sky. Everyone followed him out of the northern city gate and headed north. At this moment, the situation was the same everywhere in Myriad Star City. Groups of geniuses soared into the sky and headed north. The small number of people was around 100, and there were even dozens of people. The large number of people was in the thousands.